The anime begins with the girl being chased in space until she opens a black hole that transports herself to another planet. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, Rito is observing his crush, but is discovered by his friends Sariyama, and Rito says that he is determined to confess his feelings to her, although Sariyama doesn't think that's possible because there's always something that interrupts Rito. He started to love her when in middle school. Someone destroyed the class flower garden and everyone blamed him, but Haruna said that she didn't think he was the culprit. After class, Rito is ready to confess his feelings to Haruna, but a burning spaceship interrupts him, falling at his feet. Later, at his house, Rito calls Sariyama and tells him the bad news, but his friend thinks he chickened out and says that he must create an immunity against women, and then it will be easier to propose to Haruna. So he advised him to imagine her. When Rito goes in to take a bath, he tries to imagine Haruna but he turns red and suddenly, lightning falls from the sky and electricity is in the bathtub. Out of nowhere, a pink-haired girl appears in the bathtub and Rito runs away. But when his sister enters the bathroom, there is no girl. When Rito returns to his room, he finds the pink-haired girl using one of his towels. She's an alien named Lala and comes from the planet Deviluke. Rito blushes when he sees her body and doesn't believe she's an alien, so she shows him her black tail, which ends in a heart. Rito asks her how she appeared in his bathtub, and she tells him that she used her bracelet that allows her to warp and escape a short distance, since she was being chased. Suddenly, a little robot appears. He is Peak, and he was created by Lala, and she asks him to dress her with clothes, and Peak obeys a transform to an outfit. Although Lala is dressed, Rito thinks that those clothes are too flashy, but suddenly, two men in black appear in his room. They want to take Lala against her will. So Rito grabs her hand and helps her escape through the window, and they run over the roofs, although they are seen by Haruna. Unfortunately, they are reached and a large spaceship appears above them, from which a man dressed in armor gets out. He is Zastin. He orders Rito to not get involved in family matters, and Lala responds that she is tired of the marriage interviews that are imposed on her, and Zastin says that she must obey the king, her father. Then Lala summons one of her creations, a giant robot vacuum cleaner that sucks up Zastin and the men in black, but Lala doesn't remember how to turn it off, so the robot vacuum cleaner sucks up part of the park and Rito too. Luckily, she manages to turn it off and Rito escapes from it, and she thanks him for helping her. The next day, Rito bumps into Haruna on his way to school, and she wants to talk to him about what she saw last night, but he wants to take the opportunity to confess his feelings to her. Then Rito closes his eyes and quickly says that he likes her and asks her to go out with him, but he had not realized that Lala had appeared in front of him, and now she thinks he confessed his feelings to her and says they are engaged. The next day, Rito wakes up with Lala sleeping next to him, and without he turns very red, and the noise attracts the attention of his sister, McCann, but when she sees a girl without clothes with her brother, she flees the room. Then Pig transforms into clothes to Rito's relief, and he demands an explanation as to why she got into his bed, and Lala says that they are engaged and must live under the same roof. Rito doesn't understand who decided that they are engaged, and suddenly, Zastin appears through the window and apologizes for almost beating up Lala's fiance. Then Zastin explains that Rito has followed Deviluke's ceremonial rites to propose to Lala first. Yesterday in the bathtub, he grabbed her, and the next day he confessed his feelings to her. And since Lala accepted his feelings, Deviluke tradition says that they are engaged. Rito tries to explain that everything is a misunderstanding, but Zastin is offended, saying that no boy would mistakenly ask a princess to marry him, and warns him that if the king is offended, he can pulverize the earth with a single snap. So now Rito is Lala's official fiancé. He will soon marry her and rule many planets that belong to Deviluke's government. That's all a lot of information to process, and luckily, Maiken interrupts them by saying that Rito has to go to school. Later, Rito runs into his friend and says that his life is upside down and Haruna doesn't even want to look at him. In class, he decides to clear things up with Haruna, but during recess, Lala appears and captivates everyone with her beauty, and when the students ask who she is, Lala introduces herself as Rito's fiancée. All the boys get jealous, and when they hear that they already together, they are determined to beat him up, and they chase them through the school hallways until they reach a hallway. Then Rito desperately asks Lala to use her warp bracelet so that the two can escape, but since it is a sudden escape, she doesn't know where they might end up. And they end up in the worst place they could have ended up, in the female changing locker, and worst of all, they are without because the bracelet only warps living flesh. When they leave the locker, Haruna sees them and thinks the worst and slaps Rito in the face and run away. Later, when they get home, Zastin is having tea with McCann and has told her everything about the marriage between the alien princess Lala and the earthling Rito. But Rito still wants to dispel the misunderstanding and hypothetically asks Zastin how a marriage can be cancelled according to Deviluke traditions. Ziston doesn't suspect that Rito wants to do that, so he tells him that to annul the engagement, Rito must touch Lala's and break the engagement before tomorrow night. Rito tries to do it twice, but is interrupted by Ziston and Peak. Then Mekan tells him that he must be careful with what he plans or he will hurt the girl's feelings. The next day, Rito still tries to fulfill his mission to annul the engagement, but many things come between him and Lala. At night, Eve only has 1 hour left and Rito decides to be honest with Lala and takes her somewhere else to explain the misunderstanding, but Lala also takes the opportunity to thank him. On Deviluke, no one listens to her and she must obey orders all the time, but on Earth, Rito helped her without knowing who was hers, and that is something precious to her. Then Rito doesn't have the courage to cancel the engagement, and the time to cancel it passes, and they are officially engaged. The next day, Rito goes to school and feels a little peace because since Lala appeared in his life, he has not been alone. He decides to leave things as they are, believing that they will soon be solved, and maybe he can even explain to Haruna what's going on. But suddenly, Lala enters the classroom and the teacher asks them to greet the new transfer girl. Rito takes Lala up to the roof immediately and asks her how she explained that she is an alien to the school principal, but Lala says that the principal let her enroll in the school because she is cute. Then Rito warns Lala that she should not stand out because otherwise, people will discover that she is an alien and Peak agrees with him. But for Lala, that is very difficult since she stands out a lot due to her beauty, strength, and body. Meanwhile, Haruna can't stop thinking about Rito and Lala and wants to talk to him. But they are both very shy and she only says that Lala and Rito suits each other, and that leaves Rito petrified. Lala takes him home still petrified and Mekan thinks that the best thing is to change the environment to de-stress and decides to show the earthly city to Lala. The problem is that Lala's clothes are very showy, so Picary observes the others and tries to change into several outfits for Lala, but none of them are the right one, until he transforms into a cute feminine dress and Rito blushes because Lala looks prettier. The two siblings take Lala to all kinds of places and then she sees a claw machine and Mekan explains that if you put in a coin, you might be able to get a stuffed toy, although it is difficult. Fortunately, Rito is skilled and manages to pull out a stuffed zombie rabbit and gives it to Lala, and she says she will keep it as a treasure. Suddenly, Lala's clothes start falling apart because Peak is running out of energy, since he used a lot of them when he transformed into all those outfits before. The three run to a clothing store and lock her in a fitting room until Mekan buys her new clothes. Unfortunately for Rito, everything was seen by Haruna. Mekan makes excuses to Haruna saying that Lala is a foreigner and just arrived in Japan. Then Lala sees an Aquarius and Mekan wants to show her how beautiful it is, and the two convince Haruna to accompany them. The four go to the aquarium and Lala is fascinated by the amount of fish, while Haruna and Rito chat, but Mekan notices that they are both blushing and leaves them alone. Elsewhere, Lala finds fish trapped in large tanks and notices that they are unhappy, so she gives them to cheer them up. Back to Haruna and Rito. She tells him that she always watched him since middle school, and that's why she knows he's kind and she blushes when she looks into his eyes. Meanwhile, the fish caretaker of the place panics because the fish are jumping out of their tanks and says that they need water to live. Then Lala summons another of her creations, a sprinkler with infinite water, and she starts flooding the place to save the fish and swim with them because it's fun. The flood soon reaches the floor where Haruna and Rito are, so they try to escape from the water, but it is led by Lala riding a shark. The entire building is flooded, so the excursion ends, but something good came out of this. Haruna and Rito feel more comfortable with each other. The next day, Rito and Lala go to school and run into Haruna, but Rito trips and falls between Haruna's legs, and she gets outraged and slaps him in the face. He can't believe that all the progress they made yesterday went to waste. The next morning, Rito wakes up again with Lala next to him without. Even though he complains about her closeness, she wants to sleep next to him. While they are having breakfast, Lala is delighted with the food and Zaston suddenly appears to tell that the royals have poison testers, so when the food reaches the royal family, it is already cold. On the way to school, Lala greets Haruna warmly, and the two walk to their classroom, where the other girls ask Lala what her relationship is with Rito, and she says that they are going to get married. Meanwhile, Rito is on the roof pensive and Zaston accuses him of wanting to shy away from marriage, but Rito says that he feels that he is too young to get married, and Zaston agrees with him because when Rito and Lala get married, Rito will be the king and will have to conquer territory in interstellar. This shocks Rito and he imagines himself in his first fight, so Zaston suggests starting to train him in combating. That scares Rito and he asks what else he can do as king, and Zaston says that he must defend Deviluke's territory in interstellar. But Rito once again imagines himself perishing while he defends his planet, and Zaston realizes that Rito also needs officer training. Later at home, Rito is mentally exhausted because he can't stop imagining himself on the intergalactic battlefield. While Mike can't prepare another meal for Lala, and Zastin also sat down to eat with them, and the two aliens praised Mikan's food. So Lala decides to cook them a Deviluke dish, but what she manages to make is some kind of jelly that looks horrible and tastes worse, and Rito almost goes to the world of the non-living. When Rito wakes up, Lala tells him that it is the first time she has cooked, and Rito decides to take advantage of that information. Suddenly, Rito gets serious and shouts that he doesn't want to marry someone who doesn't know how to cook. Zastin is outraged and says that the royal chefs will cook for them. But Rito says that he wants to eat delicious food made by the girl he loves, and if Lala is not good at cooking, she must return to Deviluke. Lala is shocked and escapes into space, followed by Zastin. The next day, Rito feels guilty for having said those things to Lala abruptly, but he feels that it is for the best because he does not want to be king and fight in interstellar. Suddenly, Lala enters the classroom and takes Rito to the school kitchen room and tells him that she searched the entire universe for delicious ingredients to make homemade food. But Rito interrupts her and says that he cannot go to the interstellar battlefield, and Lala, surprised, tells him that he does not need to fight in because Deviluke has many officers and admirals, not even her father, the current king, fights in anymore. And Rito is immediately relieved. Then Lala explains again that she will cook her homemade food because he loves her and she wants to please him. So Peak transforms into an apron and she starts cooking. At that moment, Haruna enters to take them to class again and is surprised to see them so close. And although Rito wants to clarify that there is nothing between them, a giant tentacle comes out of Lala's refrigerator. Fortunately, Haruna does not see that there is a giant octopus that traps the three of them in its tentacles. Suddenly, Zastin comes in through the window to rescue them. But a giant squid comes out of Lala's refrigerator, and not only that, but a giant lobster also attacks them. Rito can't believe this is worse than an interstellar. Days later, Saki, the self-appointed queen of the school, notices Lala's beauty, but she is sure that she cannot beat her own beauty. But one day, Lala activates her guardian puppy robot who bites anyone who looks suspicious, and is very despite its small size. The dog robot bites Lala's clothes, and all the male students are drooling when they see a bit of Lala's body. And not only that, in PE, Saki wears shorter than normal, but the male students only watch Lala. Another day in the library, while Saki is fanned by her subordinates, Lala climbs a ladder to try to grab a book and falls on Rito, showing her to all the students. Then Saki gets frustrated and thinks that Lala is doing it on purpose to challenge her, so she sends her a letter with her subordinates. The next day, Saki organizes a showdown and the students can't believe that a second-year girl challenges a first-year transfer student. Meanwhile, Lala has not yet read the letter and gives it to Zastin, since he believes that someone wants to harm her, but he cannot read the letter because the robot dog tears it up. The showdown begins and Saki reveals her body in an elegant, but the male audience only wants to see Lala, so Saki gets angry and sends a subordinate to Rito. He is brought to the stage and Saki announces over the microphone that if Lala doesn't show up, she will hug Rito wearing only a. Suddenly, Zastin and Lala appear fleeing from the robot dog, and they both collide with Saki, causing Rito to fall on top of her. Then the robot dog determines that Saki is suspicious and begins to tear up her. The male audience is delighted with what they see, but Saki runs away embarrassed. On the way home, Zastin says that they must protect Lala from a possible attack, while Rito scolds her because she attracts a lot of attention and the others could discover her secret. This is heard by Aya, one of Saki's subordinates, and she tells her that Lala has a secret. This satisfies Saki since she wants to reveal it in front of the entire school as revenge for the shame she put her through. At night, Saki takes Aya and Rin to Rito's house, but as soon as they step into the courtyard, they are attacked by the security measures that Zastin put in place. Aya and Rin escape, but Saki falls into a secret hole that takes her to Lala's room and she stays hidden under her desk until Lala enters wearing only a towel. Saki takes out a camera to photograph Lala's, but she accidentally presses a button that turns Lala's room into an escape pod. The room begins to ascend into space at full speed and Saki gets scared thinking that she is dreaming, so Lala starts pressing buttons at random to make the room descend. Unfortunately, the buttons she pressed are attack buttons and those missiles are aimed at Zastin and the men in black who wanted to help Lala. Things get worse when Saki falls out of the window and Lala uses Paik to put on her flying outfit and saves Saki. When Saki wakes up, she realizes that she has no and she is in the middle of the street where everyone can't stop looking at her and blames Lala. Days later, Zastin and his men detect a spaceship approaching planet Earth and Zastin says that it is time for Rito to prove his worth. The spaceship lands on the roof of the school and a green alien with zero friendly appearance comes out. He looks for Lala and finds her in the science classroom with Rito. Today's science class is trying to defrog and Lala says that she prefers to Rito and chases him around the classroom with a scalpel and while he runs away laughing, he can't help but fix his gaze on Haruna. This is seen by the green alien, and he doesn't like that Lala's fiancé is looking at other girls, so he knocks out the school headmaster and takes his human form. Then he takes Haruna to the storage gym room and tells Sarami where Rito can find them. Meanwhile, on the roof, Rito continues to escape from Lala and her scalpel, and Sarami arrives to give the headmaster's message to Rito. Then, Rito leaves and tells Lala that she can play with Sarami, and the boy is so happy to hear that, so he takes his clothes and Lala prepares for the dissection, and with tweezers, she squeezes Sarami's navel, making him scream in pain. Rito arrives at the gym's storage room and finds an unconscious Haruna hanging, and the alien takes off his human form and introduces himself. He is Puberty, and he is an alien who wants to marry Lala and rule Deviluke. Meanwhile, Lala decides to look for Rito and summons a sniffer robot dog and gives him some of Rito's dirty for the robot to sniff, but the robot prefers to go snooping in the girl's changing room, and she orders him to seriously look for Rito. On the other hand, in the storage room gym, Puberty to continue tearing Haruna's clothes if Rito does not cancel his engagement with Lala. Suddenly, Lala and her sniffer robot dog enter, and she is shocked to see Haruna hanging and Puberty Rito. Lala says that she will never marry him, so Puberty takes Haruna in his arms and Rito gets really angry. He wants to beat up the alien. But that scares Puberty, and his huge form disappears, leaving a small green alien, and Lala explains that he is a Devilukean. They can imitate powerful techniques to make up for its physical weakness. Suddenly, many alien wives and their children appear to scold Puberty, as he took the form of other species on different planets and married several alien women. Then, before he can escape, Lala teleports him and all of his wives to Zaston's spaceship. Now all that remains is to repair Haruna's clothes, and since Rito can't even look at her without blushing, he leaves that job to Lala. When Haruna wakes up in the infirmary, she is a little disoriented, and Lala explains that she in the gym due to anemia, and Rito saved her. The next day, a new student arrives at school. He is Ren, a handsome boy who wants to reclaim Lala as his fiancée and take her away from Rito. Lala says that she doesn't remember him, and he shows her a photo from when they were children. It turns out that Ren looked like a girl when he was a kid, so they dressed him like a girl. He was Lala's best friend, and she only used him as a tester for all of her experiments. Although the experiments were dangerous for Ren, they are the best memories of his childhood, and he still keeps in his heart the promise she made to him. If he became more manly, she would marry him. So now Ren is willing to beat Rito. As the days go by, Ren tries to appear more manly in Lala's eyes, but she only notices Rito. On the other hand, Rito has internal conflicts, since if Ren manages to win over Lala, they will get married and leave Earth, but he would miss Lala a lot, although that would leave him free to win over Haruna. Everything is very confusing for him. At that moment, Ren asks Rito what the secret is to being a manly boy, and Rito, tired of the situation, told him that competing against him is not manly. The next day, Ren asks several students what it means to be manly and receives various answers and advice, so he writes everything down and pays attention to them. So when Lala sees him, she doesn't see old Ren, but a new boy with another style, but for Lala, he is not yet manly. At night, Ren walks through the city thinking about how to become manly and decides to watch a movie for men. When the movie ends, he is moved by the main character's story and decides to imitate his lifestyle. Ren begins to train and interact with the neighbors, and that makes him the main character in his own life. He becomes so popular that the local news interviews him and the girls create a fan club for him. Rito watches the news and tells Lala that she should tell him that he is manly, so he stops attracting attention. But now Ren doesn't consider himself too manly yet and doesn't want to see Lala. Time passes and Ren is still the protagonist of his own movie and faces various things such as bikers, boxers, and even Bigfoot. When he finally considers his body to be manly, Lala is ready to give him her approval in a movie setting, but suddenly, Ren sneezes and transforms into a woman. It turns out that Ren has a unique genetic that turns him into a woman every time he sneezes, so now all that training has gone to waste. Days later, Lala rushes to school, and when she realizes that Rito was not coming after her, she summons one of her creations, a robot magnet, and orders it to bring Rito. The problem is that Rito is still in the bathroom and comes to school with his clothes half on, and not only that, Haruna sees him like that and slaps him in the face, and the boy is grabbed by Ren turned into a girl, who wants to kiss him, but they both lose their balance and fall to the floor. All this is seen by the other students, and the mess does not end there. Saka also wants to kiss Rito and hugs him wearing clothes. Suddenly, a student shouts at them to stop all this indecency. She is Yu, officer of the moral committee. She orders the girls to release Rito, but Ren wants to kiss Rito without caring. Unfortunately, she sneezes and turns into a boy again. And when Ren realizes what he was doing, he walks away from Rito and trips, pulling out Lala's hair clip, which was peak, and Lala is left without making Yu. Yu concludes that the culprit of all the school's immoralities is Rito's fault, and as an officer of the moral committee, she manages to get new rules accepted to restore good morals to the school. The rules are very strict. Friendships between boys and girls are not allowed, uniforms have to be long, and students must wear them correctly. The girls are angry because their are long, so Lala gives them one of her creations, hair clips that shorten the uniform, but Yu sees her and confiscates them, but accidentally activates one, and her uniform gets short, and Rito is accidentally attracted by Lala's magnets and falls on Yu, and she slaps him in the face with all the rage she feels. After that, Yu goes to talk to the school headmaster because she wants the power to punish Rito. He will be isolated for 2 weeks, and he will not be able to talk to girls. This is celebrated by the boys as they want the opportunity to talk to Lala, and this makes Rito a little jealous. Unfortunately for Yu, immoral accidents continue to happen since she does not realize that all those accidents happen when Lala is around. On the way home, Rito doesn't understand why it bothers him that other boys talk to Lala and decides to go see a movie, and he doesn't realize that he is being followed by Yu. The movie is romantic and sad, and Rito can't help but cry watching it, which makes you think that she was wrong about him. So she decides to follow him for the rest of the day and confirms her suspicion that he is a good boy because he helps everyone who comes across him and decides to lift his punishment. Unfortunately, something unexpected happens. On another side of the city, Lala and her friends plan a party to cheer up Rito because he looked very sad in the punishment room, so Lala summons her robot magnet and orders it to bring Rito. Rito, who was with Yu, is immediately drawn with Yui in his arms to Lala, causing serious problems for everyone who crosses his path. The next day, the same immoral incidents occur at the school gate, and Rito thinks that Yu won't say anything because they are already friends, but she gets angry and punishes him again. Days later, a space boy searches for Lala all over planet Earth until he finally lands in Japan. Meanwhile, Rito won't stop sneezing and thinks it's a bad omen, but Lala convinces him to go to the school nurse's office to have his temperature taken. But the nurse is not there, so Lala asks Pete to change into a nurse's outfit for her, and Rito blushes furiously when he sees her. When Nurse Mikado arrives, she takes his temperature and says he's fine. Later, on the way home, a meteor seems to fall behind Lala and Rito, but it's a space boy, and she doesn't remember who he is, so he reminds her he's Picary. He is angry with Lala because she is engaged to an ugly Earthling, while he is a handsome boy and is a better match for her, and decides to prove it by activating his rocket suit. Picary picks up Lala and quickly ascends into the sky, but Lala uses one of her inventions to deactivate the belt on his rocket suit, saving herself. At night, Picary still cannot activate the magic belt of his rocket suit, and cannot help crying when remembering his parents on the planet Carrera. Suddenly, Ren jogs by and recognizes Picary's suit and realizes that he is not an Earthling. This is a relief to Picary, and he begs her to lend him some Rocketium to fix his rocket suit, but Ren doesn't have any, although he promises to help. Later, Picary flies to Rito's house looking for Lala, but she notices him first and arms herself with a special tennis racket and hits him so hard that she sends him flying far away. Picary is dejected because he told his parents and brothers that he would be engaged to Princess Lala, but he hasn't gotten it done yet. Suddenly, Picary meets Zastin and he gives him directions to an underground hospital, and he is attended to by Nurse Mikado. She has the Rocketium that he needs to repair his rocket suit. The next day, Picary goes to school and finds Rito and Lala playing nurse patient and tries to kill Lala, but Nurse Mikado stops him and wraps him up like a mummy with bandages. After that, Mikado, Rito, and Lala put Picary into a space rocket and send him back to his planet. And Nurse Mikado tells them that she knows Lala's true identity because she is an alien in charge of healing the wounds of aliens who visit planet Earth. Sometime later, Picary arrives on his planet and is lovingly received by his family. Days later, Rito dreams with Haruna, and when he is about to kiss her, he wakes up with Lala by his side. To clear his head, he goes out for a walk and sees Zastin talking to a short female alien, and he takes her to Rito's house. The alien enters the house and greets Lala warmly. She is Stella, chairman of Lala's fan club, who is in charge of organizing Lala's fan meetings with her fans, since she is one of the most famous and beloved princesses in the universe. She is also in charge of taking care of her from exuberant fans who want to approach her without permission, since in the past she was also a fan of Lala and managed to evade Zastin's security. It turns out that Stella came to Earth because she wants Lala to have an idol debut CD, but Lala doesn't want to because she doesn't want to go back to space. That baffles Stella, and even more so when she finds out that Lala is engaged to Rito. This shocks Stella so much that she becomes petrified, and Lala says that the alien species to which Stella belongs solidifies when they receive a big surprise, and over time she will unpetrify herself. Hours later, Stella gets unpetrified and tries to attack Rito, but she stops because she doesn't want Lala to be sad. And on behalf of Lala's 500 billion fans, Stella declares that she won't forgive him easily. Then Stella tells him that he owes her and asks him to help her find cute girls, since she is the chairman of a Universal Entertainment company and her job is to debut Universal celebrities. But now, because of Rito, Lala doesn't want to sing and Stella needs a new talent to replace Lala, and he is responsible to finding it. Rito accepts the responsibility and shows Stella a bunch of girls, but none of her convinces her until out of nowhere she smells the smell of a talent and runs to a building. To Rito's horror is the building where Haruna lives. When Stella sees Haruna, she thinks that she is the perfect girl to debut as a universal celebrity, but Rito disagrees because Stella proposes several styles of celebrity for Haruna, and none of them fit Haruna's innocence. Then Stella gets angry and decides to capture Haruna at any cost, and Rito is willing to save her. As Stella's third failed attempt to catch Haruna, she gives up and she says that the only solution is to take him and his family to space so that Lala agrees to debut as a singer. But Rito does not agree and decides to hold a meeting with the four of them. Surprisingly, Mikan likes the idea of debuting as a universal celebrity, and Stella immediately imagines her debut as a comedy duo with her brother. Then Lala also gets excited about the idea, and Stella gets excited too, thinking about all the money she will make from a new comedy duo. Unfortunately, her dreams are interrupted by her intergalactic cell phone. It turns out that the tax office found out that her entertainment company was... The surprise shocks her and Stella gets petrified, so her employees press the emergency button and a petrified Stella ascends into space. Days later, a blonde girl arrives on planet Earth. That day, Rito goes shopping for things that Mikan asked for, but she forgot to ask him for something else, so she asks Lala or Zastin to reach him. So the two play rock, paper, scissors, Deviluke version to decide who goes. Meanwhile, Rito finds Haruna and helps her with her shopping, enjoying the small moment of peace. While he continues buying what Mikan asked him for, he craves taiyaki and buys several of them. Suddenly, he sees a blonde girl who keeps staring at him and thinks that she wants taiyaki too and offers her one. She eats it and says that earthly food is peculiar. Rito realizes that she is an alien, but it is too late. She pulls out a sword and tries to eliminate him. Rito escapes as best he can, and she is surprised that he is so fast. Although she manages to corner him and tells him that he doesn't seem a bad guy like they told her, but that doesn't matter. She has orders to eliminate him. Suddenly, Zastin appears and protects Rito from a thrust, since he is the guardian of the royal family of Deviluke and, by extension, protector of the princess's fiancé. As Zastin and the blonde girl fight, Lala and Mikado arrive. A nurse explains that the blonde girl is Yami, known as Golden Darkness, a universal with the ability to change her body parts into... Then Yami turns her hair into dragons that attack Zastin, and he very confidently says that she can't beat him with that, but without realizing it, he falls into a sewer. Yami is ready to get rid of Rito, but Lala intervenes and says that although she may not seem like it, she is very strong. The fight between both girls is brutal since Yami does not hesitate to attack Lala with different... But Lala does not give up and uses many of her inventions to protect herself from her. Yami doesn't understand why Lala protects Rito so much. According to her client, Rito is trying to take over Deviluke. Lala assures her that's not true, but that doesn't matter because once a customer places an order, Yami can't take it back, and that's something a sheltered princess like Lala wouldn't understand. On the contrary, Lala says that she understands the darkness of the universe, and that is why she escaped from Deviluke to explore the planets and ended up on Earth. Suddenly, a spaceship descends on them, and a small alien named Lacuspo scolds Golden Darkness for fighting Lala when the target is Rito. It turns out that Lacuspo is another of the aliens in love with Lala who intended to marry her. Then Yami tells Lacuspo that he lied to her about Rito, and that voids the contract they made. Lacuspo gets angry and says he will punish her for disobeying him and summons a giant frog that spits acid that tears clothes. The frog first attacks Yami, and then Lala and Pete can't regenerate Lala's clothes fast enough, so Rito protects her with his body and is also left without. He is tired of this nonsense, so he punches Lacuspo in the face. The little Martian gets so angry that he orders the giant frog to crush Rito. Fortunately, Pig manages to dress Lala, and with her super strength, she sends Lacuspo and his frog flying back into space. Yami tells them that once she took a mission, she must fulfill it, so she will stay on Earth until she gets rid of Rito and blushes a little. That makes Lala happy, and she asks her to get along well from now on. Days later, Rito is very excited because today is the day of the sports festival at school, and he dreams of winning medals and showing them to Haruna. But not only does he dream of winning, Saki is still upset with Lala's beauty, so she swears not to lose to her. The men begin the competition in a scavenger battle, and Ren also feels competitive and swears to defeat Rito for the love of Lala, but unfortunately he takes out the paper that says he must look for a legendary sword. Then the captain of the basketball team drew the paper that says he has to get the heart of true love, so he declares his love for Lala, but she rejects him. Finally, Rito drew the paper that says he should get a girl's fresh removed, and Rito gets angry at something so absurd and starts sweating because he doesn't know how to get them. Then Lala gives him robots that will help him complete his mission no matter what it is, and Rito objects. But the robots push him to the female students against his will, and he falls on Haruna, and he manages to get her off of, but she slaps him so hard in the face that she sends him flying. Now it's the girls' turn. They will have an unusual obstacle race. Yu takes the lead, and the first obstacle is the parents, and she cannot continue. Then Haruna advances but cannot overcome the obstacle of a woman saying that her child belongs to Haruna's lover. She would never accept being cheated on with another woman. Then it's Saki's turn, but she can't move forward because her obstacle is a policeman saying that her lover will be in prison for 20 years, and that's a long time for a girl, so Saki is disqualified too. Finally, Lala faces her obstacle, the toughest of all. Some members want to collect the debt of her lover with her, but Lala is not afraid and defeats them both, thus winning the race. The next sporting event is the mixed relay race. Rito is nervous because he has to pass the baton to Haruna, but he cheers up himself at the thought of winning as a team. Later, his team is winning, but when Yu has to give the baton to Ren, everyone just realizes that he has not returned from looking for the legendary sword. Now Rito's team is in a last place, but suddenly, Ren returns with a legendary armor and sword and takes Yu's baton without letting go of the huge sword. He keeps running and can't stop, so when he has to give the baton to Rito, Ren falls and the sword falls to the ground, breaking it in two. The sword is so big that it creates an abyss, and Rito is about to fall, so Haruna tries to help him, but instead of grabbing her hand, he grabs her and she lets him fall, slapping him. After that, the nurse heals the injured students. The cavalry fight is about to begin, and Rito is worried because it's his job to carry Haruna on his back, and he thinks that she is angry because of what happened before. Before starting the battle, Saki announces that she will defeat Lala's team with her secret, a remote control. She presses a button, and out of nowhere, a pool paid by her family appears, and now the battle will be in the water. So everyone changes their clothes and puts on their. The water battle begins, and Saki orders Aya and Rin to press their remote controls, and out of nowhere, a bunch of flying tools start cutting up Lala's team. But Lala has Peak who regenerates her quickly, which angers Saki, and she intensifies the speed of the flying tools. Now everything is chaos. Ren, who is carrying Lala, sneezes and turns into a girl, so she's also attacked. Haruna is also attacked and is knocked out in the water, so Rito picks her up and swims with her to get her out of the pool. That distracts everyone, and Lala is able to take Saki's cap and win the battle. Then Saki throws a tantrum and attacks them with a huge ball. Meanwhile, Haruna wakes up in the infirmary, and Rito apologizes for what happened and she forgives him. But that doesn't last because Saki's huge ball collapses the wall of the infirmary and Rito falls on Haruna's again. Meanwhile, on a distant planet, Deviluke, supreme ruler of the universe, single-handedly defeats the Cavalry warrior tribe. Back on Earth, Rito wakes up again with Lala next to him without clothes and continues to blush, even though this happens daily. When he goes down to breakfast, he meets Zaston. He tells him that they have to talk about something important. It turns out that Zaston received the call from King Deviluke. He conquered Cavalry sooner than he expected and wants to visit the Earth. He wants to evaluate his daughter's fiancé with his own eyes, since Rito will succeed him. Zaston tells this to Rito and warns him to be careful because the king may already be watching him. The next day on the way to school, Rito can't stop worrying about Lala's dad's appearance and imagine all kinds of super strong and macho male aliens. He thinks that maybe he doesn't like him because any father would hate his daughter's boyfriend, so he thinks it's best to be honest about his feelings towards her. And for the first time, Rito doesn't really know what his feelings are towards Lala and Haruna. In the classroom, Rito decides that he will be on his best moral behavior to avoid misunderstandings, but Saki arrives and tries to Rito again, but her minions fail and tie up Yu, and then leave without untying her. Then Rito tries to help her, but the ropes are tied too tightly, and no one wants to help because everyone enjoys seeing Yu in that situation, until Lala cuts the ropes with her super scissors, but unfortunately, she also cuts her clothes. Unfortunately, Rito has to hug Yu, so she won't be in the middle of classroom, until Haruna puts a jacket over her. All this is seen by a woman who observes him from the ceiling. After that, Rito has another morally questionable accident with Ren turned into a girl and Yami, who half-heartedly tries to eliminate him. Later, he and Haruna have to clean up things, and he thinks he is the perfect time to talk to her about his feelings, but a voice on the speaker interrupts him and asks him to go to the roof. There, Rito greets the nurse, and she says that someone asked to see him. The unknown woman greets Rito and tells him that he is very popular with girls and has a lot of fun with them. He tries to deny it, but she shows him a lot of photographs of him with many different girls. Then she tries to seduce him and asks him to close his eyes so she can kiss him, but suddenly a male voice says that he failed and the woman. The male voice belongs to a short, grumpy-looking alien. Rito thinks he is a little boy until he sees the tail and guesses that he is Lala's little brother. That angers the alien and he introduces himself. He is the king of Deviluke, Gid Lucian Deviluke, Lala's father. The king says that he is disappointed in Rito since he hangs out with many girls and wonders how his daughter fell in love with a boy like him. But the king gives him another chance and asks him what he can do for Lala. But Rito doesn't know how to answer and the king asks him what he feels for Lala. Rito doesn't know what to answer either and the king loses it, and he is ready to eliminate Rito for being an indecisive boy. The king decides to eliminate Rito and the entire planet Earth, but Rito stands up to him and holds on until Lala arrives at the roof and yells at her father to stop. The king tells Lala that Rito is not a suitable man for her, but Lala begins to cry and lists all of Rito's good qualities and the most important, she loves Rito. Then her father decides that he will give Rito time. The next time they see each other, Rito must be the #1 man in the universe for Lala or he will destroy the Earth. Later, Rito is locked in his room since the fate of the Earth is in his hands, but the indecision does not last long. He decides to be the best man possible, and he knows that the doubts in his heart will clear themselves in the future. So he goes down and tells the others about his decision, and Zastin and the girls say that they will support him. The next day, Rito begins with his personal task of becoming a better man, but he doesn't think of many ideas until he sees a football ball and imagines himself as a footballer. And he concludes that his body is not in good shape to be an athlete, so he goes down to jog. Unfortunately, Rito gets tired very fast and stops resting in a park, and to his surprise, Haruna is there walking to her dog. He tells her that he wants to improve as a person, but it is difficult, and she shyly offers to encourage him in his task. Upon returning home, Rito don't tell Lala what he was doing. The next day in class, Rito and Haruna look at each other without saying anything, and Rito thinks it's great to have a secret between the two of them. The days go by and Rito continues jogging every afternoon, and Haruna is always in the park cheering him on when he stops to rest. She even brings him refreshing snacks on days. But one rainy day, Rito still goes jogging and is excited to meet Haruna in the park, and she gathers courage and asks him if he will go jogging on Sunday, since she wants to bring him a bento. This pleasantly surprises Rito, and he agrees to jog on Sunday because for him, that meeting will be a date. On Sunday, they are both nervous, but Rito still manages to finish his exercise routine before sitting down to eat the lunch she prepared. To Rito's delight, the food is exquisite. Suddenly, Haruna's dog falls into the canal while chasing a pigeon, and Rito quickly jumps into the water to save it. But his pants are completely soaked and a cold breeze blows. So Haruna takes him to her house to dry his clothes, and not only that, she allows Rito to take a bath. This is too much for Rito, so he finishes quickly and goes out, but his clothes are not dry yet, and he only has a towel to wear. Then Haruna takes him to her room while she makes some tea, and he looks at all the pictures of her in middle school. Then Haruna shows him her photo album, and to his surprise, he appears in all of them. The nostalgic bubble breaks when Haruna hears the kettle boiling and gets up quickly, and Rito trips and falls on top of her. And that's how Haruna's sister sees them. And to make matters worse, Rito's towel and he blushes violently before running away. Days later, Zastin receives an urgent call from Deviluke, and he quickly descends from his spaceship to Rito and Lala's school. All the students are surprised to see a man wearing armor, and Zastin tells Lala that she must perform a task as Princess of Deviluke right now. And since the other students do not understand what he means, he reveals to them that Lala is an alien, and to Rito's surprise, everyone takes the news very well. Then Zastin takes Lala and quickly ascends to the spaceship, but not only she ascends, Rito and Haruna too. On the spaceship, Zastin explains that Lord Carter, an ally of Deviluke, is close to Earth, and Lala has to diplomatically welcome him. Rito and Haruna's job will be to be Lala's entourage on this important mission. After that, the three of them get dressed up, and Lala and her entourage go to Lord Carter's spaceship, which looks like a flying castle. Lord Carter asks Lala to dance and tells her that he's going to go down to Earth to hunt, since his race specializes in that, and he heard that Earth is a planet with untouched nature, and he wants to get the title of the greatest hunter in the universe. This is heard by Rito, and he remembers Lala's father's words about becoming a greater man of the universe. So he gets into Lala and Lord Carter's conversation and tells him that he also wants to hunt. Lord Carter doesn't like being interrupted, but he accepts that Rito joins his hunt because he is Lala's fiancé and the Earth is his planet. Lord Carter's only condition is to dress in rags and use archaic to hunt, and Rito accepts. Lord Carter's spaceship descends into the Guyana jungle, and everyone is already dressed in ragtag clothes that look like cavemen. Everyone goes down to the Guyana jungle, and Rito is surprised to see large beasts such as dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, and even giant spiders. He thinks his simple stone axe is useless, but he musters up the courage to defend Haruna from the giant gorilla that has her trapped. Rito's attacks are useless because the gorilla is very big, and suddenly, a shower of arrows saves him from being caught. A tribe of Amazon women appear and tell the gorilla that he can take Haruna. They want the brave man who fought him, and the gorilla takes his supplicant Haruna, who asks them to find help for Rito. Meanwhile, Rito does not understand what they are referring to, and the leader of the Amazon tribe says that they want him as a husband. Rito is shocked and tries to escape, but the Amazon women take him and begin preparations for the wedding ceremony. The queen of the Amazons begins to take off her armor and prays to the goddess of to bless them. Suddenly, Lala appears and stops the ceremony, saying that Rito is her fiancé, and she begins to fight against all the Amazons, but one of them grabs her tail, and Lala is defeated because her tail is very sensitive. Suddenly, Haruna appears riding on top of the giant gorilla and orders him to save Rito and Lala. The Amazons cannot believe that a girl can control the big gorilla and flee and retreat. All this is seen by Lord Carter, and he makes a decision. Later, on Lord Carter's spaceship, he gives the golden cup to Haruna and names her the greatest huntress in the universe, which leaves Rito a little disappointed. The next day, Haruna wakes up thinking that everything was a dream, but she sees the large golden cup that Lord Carter gave her and realizes that everything was real. 10 days later, summer has arrived and Rito and his friends take Lala to an amusement park pool. Everyone is very excited to go, especially Lala because she has never been to one. While everyone is having fun, Ren, turned into a girl now called Run, watches sadly as he plays with the girls. She's tried everything to get him to notice her, but he doesn't seem interested in her. So this time, Run will go all out and force him to focus on her and propose to him to be his girlfriend. First, Run puts on a diving suit to surprise Rito underwater in the pool, but everyone thinks she's a creep and knocks her out of the pool. After that, Run chases Rito, who had gone to buy ice cream for Lala and Haruna, but she hugs him so suddenly that he trips, and the ice cream cones fall on Yu and Yami. Yu gets angry, and Yami reminds him that her task is to eliminate him, so he shouldn't provoke her like that. Although she admires his bravery in doing so, she starts chasing him to scare him a little. Later, everyone returns to the pool, and Lala is a little disappointed because there are no waves. So she summons one of her creations and starts forming a whirlpool in the pool. Everyone starts running away from the pool except Rito because, unfortunately, Run trapped him in her arms with a tight hug, and he almost drowned trying to run away from her. When Rito wakes up, Yu recommends that he rest while the others eat lunch, and that makes Run angry because she thinks that the others want to get between her and Rito. So she decides to embarrass all the girls in front of Rito so that they can't even look at his face again, but her plans to take away their don't go well, because every time she tries, it is Rito who is harmed. Tired of her failed attempts, Run pulls out her triumphant card, a box of textile-eating space piranhas. The girls flee in terror from the pool, and Pete tells Lala what is happening, so she invokes one of her inventions, a metal net launcher, and catches all the piranhas. Then Rito notices that there is a bigger piranha and says that that is the leader, and when Lala catches it, everyone realizes that it is Run wearing a piranha suit. Everyone asks Run why she did all those things, and she says that she did it for Rito. Then the girls accuse Rito of having done something to Run, and he immediately gets angry, saying that he is innocent. Run feels guilty and runs away from there and meets a guy who wants to show his friends how to win a girl. He invites Run to eat something, and she's so sad that she accepts and eats a bunch, almost bankrupting the guy. After that, Run walks aimlessly and sees an idol singer and decides to become one, so that later, Rito will beg her for love. But the school sensei criticizes the idol and says that nowadays idols don't measure up to the idols of the past, so Run begs him to make her a top idol. The sensei does not want to accept, but is forced to observe Run's hard training. What seems like days are just hours of dancing and singing, until the sensei asks her to let him go to his house. Run doesn't take this well and thinks that she is not good enough to be an idol and decides to be a prostitute model, since according to her, that is the only thing she is good for. Meanwhile, Haruna talks to Rito and says that Run is in love with him, and it is logical that she ran away from them when he spoke to her angrily, and Rito feels a little guilty and goes to look for her. Fortunately, Rito finds her just in time because some guys were her, and he stands up for her and defends her, but is beaten, and Lala appears to the rescue with one of her creations and defeats the bad guys. At the end of the day, Run thanks Rito and Lala for saving her, and Rito apologizes for speaking harshly to her before, and Run decides to continue fighting for his love. Days later, a rumor spreads around the school that there is a ghost in the old school building. Haruna is scared to hear the story, while Lala is excited at the prospect of seeing one. Haruna's friends convince a reluctant Haruna to go with them to look for the ghosts. This is overheard by Rito, who decides to go because Haruna is afraid. The five of them go to the old school building and are surprised to see that the lock is open, so they enter. Inside it is very dark and old. The floors are old and creak as they walk on it. Suddenly, they hear a noise and Rito gathers courage to face the possible ghost, but it is only Yami, who is reading old books. Suddenly, they hear another noise and get scared, but it is only Yue, who had heard them before and decided to follow them. They think that the ghost thing is a lie, but suddenly, they hear a voice ordering them to leave and the floor breaks, and they all fall to the lower floor and immediately hear out-of-tune notes from a piano. The piano seems angry and starts chasing them until Yami turns one of her arms into a sword and destroys it. They think they are safe, but out of nowhere, a skeleton and a half-man start chasing them, and they demand that they leave the place. The girls, except Yue and Lala, who is interested in knowing how they can speak if they don't have vocal cords, but the skeleton falls on the water faucet and the jet is so powerful that Peak falls off Lala's head and she is left without. Peak apologizes and turns back into clothes for Lala, and in the middle of the mess, some little furry bugs come out of the skeleton and the man in half. They regroup and become a giant monster. Lala and Yami try to defeat it, but it is too big for them, until Haruna wakes up and gets scared when she sees it and uses Rito as a and hits it so hard that the monster is defeated. It turns out that it is not a monster or a ghost. They are aliens from other planets with nowhere to go and were hiding in the old school building. This is overheard by Miss Mikado, and she offers to get them a job on Earth. Rito is relieved that it wasn't a ghost after all, but he's wrong. Suddenly, the ghost of a girl appears. She passed away 400 years ago, and her name is Oshizu. She tells them that she is relieved that the aliens are gone because they wouldn't let her sleep. They like to sing at night and always want her to keep them company. Meanwhile, Miss Mikado takes the aliens to a haunted house that hires aliens, but to her surprise, the haunted house went bankrupt and the owner will now only hire female aliens because he will soon open a... So Miss Mikado and the aliens return to the old school building and tell Oshizu and the others about the bad news, but Oshizu has a solution. She will turn them into transvestites since she was trained from a very young age to be a graceful girl with talents to charm men. The aliens just want to get the job, so they accept Oshizu's proposal and she trains them in ancient Japanese singing and dancing. Sometime later, the aliens and Oshizu are hired by the owner of the and Lala is surprised to learn that Zastin is a regular customer there. Days later, Miss Mikado receives a huge space package, but it is not for her. It is for Lala. So she goes to get Lala, and Rito and Sariyama accompany her to the roof to see it. When Lala opens the package, a huge beast cat comes out and starts attacking Lala. Peak says it's a sent by someone to get rid of her. Lala tries to evade the claws of the huge beast cat as best she can, until the cat starts writhing with stomach pain and says that they are contractions because she is pregnant. Immediately, Rito and Sariyama carry the beast cat to the infirmary, but Miss Mikado is not there and Sariyama is left there to take care of the future mother. The contractions are getting stronger and Sariyama takes her paw and teaches her how to breathe to endure the pain. Hours later, the baby cat is born. The cat alien is now a normal size and apologizes to Lala. She says that she was desperate for money and accepted the job of eliminating her to get some and raise her baby. Lala brushes it off, although Rito says she should worry about it, but Lala says she will give her a souvenir from Earth and asks if there is something she wants. To everyone's surprise, the alien cat whispers that she wants Sariyama, and he fervently refuses to be given away. Later, Rito tells Sariyama that he would be a good gift, since he would represent Earth and perhaps be happier living on another planet, but Sariyama does not want to leave and runs away from Rito. Lala tries to convince him and chases him through the hallways, and the situation is heard by Lala's friends, and they think that she cannot give Sariyama as a representation of the Earth because he is a disgrace for humanity that gives hope to Sariyama and agree with them. But the girls offer to dress up Sariyama and dress him as a fish for them now is a perfect souvenir, and they give it to Lala. Then, Lala takes Sariyama dressed as a fish and gives him to the alien cat as a souvenir, and the alien cat shyly says that he will be the father of her baby. To Lala, that seems like a fantastic idea, and the alien cat asks Lala if Sariyama is seeing someone, because if that's the case, she won't accept Sariyama because she wants him to be happy. Suddenly, Sariyama stops pretending that he's unconscious and says that he has someone and runs away to find that someone. Meanwhile, Miss Mikado enters the infirmary and finds out everything that happened. Sariyama asks Rito for help and goes with him to ask all the girls at school on a date, but they all hit Sariyama and he is left without hope. Suddenly, Haruna appears and asks Sariyama why he is so sad and beaten, and he begs her to go out with him, which shocks Rito and gets between them, and after realizing what he did, Rito turns red and Haruna blushes. Then Rito comes up with an idea. Rito's girlfriend will be a puppy and he takes him back to the infirmary, but to the boys' surprise, the alien cat and her baby are no longer there and Lala takes them to the roof. It turns out that Miss Mikado advised the alien cat not to rely on men, and the alien decided to return to her planet, leaving a message to Sariyama. She wants him to be happy, and that makes Sarami tear up. Days later, Lala sees on the news that it is time to go to the hot springs and asks Rito to go to one, but he explains that there are no hot springs nearby. Then Lala decides to dig her own hot spring in the backyard of Rito's house and asks him to go buy her something to drink. Rito goes to the convenience store and is attacked by Yami, but he easily evades her and she compliments him on his speed and asks about Lala. Rito tells her and Lala's friends who are passing by that Lala is building her own hot springs and they get excited at the idea. When Rito returns home, Lala shows him her new invention, a super excavator to dig springs. Suddenly, Lala's friends appear with Haruna because they heard the news. Yami brings Miss Mikado and Sarami appears out of nowhere too. Everyone gets on Lala's excavator except Saki, who also wanted to go to the hot springs, but Lala didn't see her. Lala's excavator is very powerful, and they immediately find an ancient treasure in the entrance to Atlantis. But Lala is not interested in them, she just wants to keep digging until she finds springs. After so much pointless digging, Lala's excavator reaches an underground passage with springs of different colors, and Lala names them Subterranean Rainbow Springs. Unfortunately, the boys cannot bathe with the girls, so they are confined to staying in a tiny spring inside a well, while the girls have fun in all the colorful hot springs. But Sarami does not plan to stay still and leaves his well saying that he will try all the colored springs. First, he enters one and despite the girls scolding him, he swims as much as he wants and then goes to the next spring where Miss Mikado is. Miss Mikado tells the boys that they can go into the hot springs with her, but the water is too hot for earthlings, so the two run away. Then they go to the hot spring where Yami is and she sends them flying. Meanwhile, Lala tells Haruna that she will try to dig up there to have hot springs in Rito's backyard, and Haruna is left alone until she listens to Rito and asks him to join her in the hot spring because she feels alone. On the other hand, Lala digs and digs until she reaches a magmatic layer and inadvertently alters it and causes the nearby volcanoes to begin to erupt. Immediately, everyone gets on Lala's excavator and flees from the lava that begins to flood the place and inadvertently destroys the underground kingdom of the moles who were ready to invade the surface world. One afternoon, Lala watches her favorite anime with Rito, the magical girl Kyoko. Kyoko is a magical girl and is in love with her senpai Aikman. As soon as she sees him, her eyes turn into hearts, but he brings bad news. It turns out that General Mojak, leader of an evil organization that wants to dominate the world, is in the shopping center, and his plan is to use his powers to force people to wear afro hair. Then Kyoko's kitten summons her magical clothes, and once dressed, Kyoko is ready to save the world. She quickly confronts General Mojak using her fire powers, but is not that simple, and she misses several hits, until she succeeds in General Mojak's afro hair. The firefighters put out the fire in General Mojak's hair, and all the people who had afro hair because of him have their old hair again. Unfortunately, the police chief arrests Kyoko because she used fire in the city and that is prohibited. She excuses herself by saying that she is saving the world, but the police chief turns a blind eye and takes her to a sushi restaurant and says he'll forgive her if she burns him a little because he has a with fire. Kyoko is shocked and runs away quickly, but when she goes to the bathroom to change her clothes, the police chief appears and takes photos of her to reveal to the press that she is the magical girl. So Kyoko agrees to burn him a little, and then everything is settled. Or so Kyoko believed, because she and the police chief meet General Mojak and his mom. She's very angry because Kyoko made her son cry and burn his hair. The police chief defends Kyoko, and Mojak is not going to allow someone to speak badly to his mom. So with his powers, he grows an afro on the police chief's head and he starts to cry because he has been bald for a long time. The police chief thanks Mojak deeply, and that makes his mother proud because her son is a good person. Suddenly, Aikman appears being chased by a homeless man, and to everyone's surprise, he is Mojak's father. He had abandoned them a few years ago for another woman, but that woman abandoned him in another city and without money. Mojak's mom starts hitting her husband, but Mojak asks her to forgive him because he misses him a lot, and she accepts because she also cheated on her husband once. With everything solved, everyone starts dancing, although an accident happens again. Mojak turns someone's hair into an afro. Kyoko burns it, and Mojak gets angry, turning other people's hair into an afro. And so on the chapter ends. For Lala, the chapter was very fun, but Rito almost fell asleep. The next day, Miss Mikado introduces Rito and Lala to the editor Kimio. He writes tourist magazines for aliens and wants to write about safe places on Earth for aliens. Rito and Lala can't think of any place that accepts aliens until Kimio says that if Rito gets an in for aliens, maybe the place will be named the greatest of the universe. That catches Rito's attention, and Miss Mikado offers him the use of the old school building. Rito is still not convinced about founding his own inn for aliens, but Lala says that she will help him with everything and he accepts, which makes Kimio happy, and he says that he will come to the opening of the place. Then Lala summons Zastin and his men in black and tells them her plan to remodel the old school building into an inn, and after many days of hard work, the inn is finished. Just as he promised, Kimio comes to the opening of the place and makes a promotional video for aliens from all over the universe. The next day, Lala asks Peak to dress her as if she were a young owner, and he matches Lala's outfit with Rito's, and they both look like a married couple who own an inn. The first guest at the inn is Yami, and she asks for a common room. The second guests are two gigantic women, and the third are space frogs who wear space suits because they need a different type of gravity. Rito is ready to give the guests a good stay at the inn, but it is very difficult since the giant women want him to wash their backs, but they are so big that Rito must use a broom to brush their shoulders. After that, the space frogs ask for Japanese snacks, and Lala gives Rito a mask so that he can endure the air of the special room, but Rito finds it difficult to even walk because of the increased gravity of that room. Later, Rito tells Lala that they need more help and they hire Yami, Oshizu, and Miken, and thanks to the three of them, things are now easier. The next day, the guests leave and Rito thinks that they will not have any more guests, but he is wrong. Suddenly, a short ninja man enters the inn and asks for lodging for himself and a group of friends. Rito and Lala accommodate them in an entire floor to themselves, but what they don't know is that they are a group of ninjas who want to overthrow the king of Deviluke. The ninjas begin to plan their attack, but are constantly interrupted by Rito, who wants to satisfy his guest, but the ninja leader asks him to stop bothering them. Rito tells Lala about the situation and she says that she will come up to serve them tea, and Rito goes with her. When they enter, the ninjas are in the middle of reviewing Deviluke's intergalactic maps, and they don't bother hiding them because they think the Earthlings won't understand what they see, but they're wrong. When Lala sees Deviluke's maps, she tells them that she is from there and shows them her tail. Then the ninja boss decides to eliminate Lala, but luckily Zastin appears and a brutal battle begins. The men in black and Zastin are not enough to battle the ninjas, so Yami joins the fight and Lala summons one of her creations, but it doesn't work very well, and the machine ending the fight and destroying the inn. Unfortunately, Kimio announces to intergalactic space that Earth no longer has inns for aliens. And unfortunately for Miss Mikado, all the wounded from the battle at the inn are admitted to the infirmary. Sometime later, Yami remembers everything she has done since she came to Earth and thinks it is time to change and look for a job. Meanwhile, the students are preparing for the school culture festival. Yu wants the class to do a boring calligraphy performance, but Sarami objects and takes her place as class representative and asks the others' opinions, and the class decides to make an animal coffee shop. Sarami appoints himself the producer of the event and wants to measure the bodies of all the girls in the class, but the girls do not allow it and throw all the boys out of the classroom. Lala's friends start measuring all the girls, but they are not very gentle, and there is a lot of shouting that leaves the boys thinking that something is happening in there. On the other hand, Seki wants her class to win first place in the culture festival, and her minions say that only Lala's classroom is an obstacle. Meanwhile, Yami looks for work as an in different places, but is unsuccessful. The days go by and the preparations for the culture festival intensify. Lala wants to help with her inventions, but Rito tells her that the fun of festivals is doing everything from scratch. Everyone seems to be having fun, except Yu, and Haruna convinces her that it is best to have fun since the goal of a culture festival is for everyone to work together, and Yu cheers up and starts working with her classmates. Days later, everything is ready for the culture festival, but a girl is absent, and Lala can't think of a better idea than offer the position to Yami, who is discouraged because she still hasn't gotten a job. The animal coffee shop is a success, unlike Saki's bug coffee shop, since customers prefer to be served by girls dressed as animals like Lala and her friends. Days later, Sarami is jealous because he believes that many girls are in love with Rito, and now his friend looks like the lord in an Edo castle and he wants the same for him. Out of nowhere, his wish comes true, and he is now lord in Edo castle, and he runs to find his chamber partners, but what he did not expect is that they were all aliens. They start kissing him and Sarami wants to wake up soon from this nightmare. After that, he manages to flee but is attacked by the ninja Haruna. She wants to eliminate him and he flees the castle and runs into Saki and her minions. They are samurai who are looking for something stolen. Suddenly, Yu appears dressed as the magistrate of Edo and accuses Sarami of corrupting the morals of the town. But he discovers that she has something that does not belong to her. This is overheard by Yami, who wants to arrest Yu for stealing the crest of Saki. She summons fire, scaring Sarami, but soon stops it. At night, Sarami sees a procession of geishas and is happy by seeing so much beauty. But to his disappointment, it is only Rito, Ren, and Zastin dressed as women. That's enough to wake him up from the nightmare. Lala enters the classroom and sees a sleepy Sarami, and he tells her that he was having a nightmare, so she shows him her new invention, a robot that delivers a punch that makes you sleep immediately. Sarami repeats his nightmare again without knowing why, until he is trampled by the geishas and he wakes up again. Lala doesn't understand what happened and her robot hits Sarami again. He is once again in his nightmare, and this time the nightmare continues its course. Sarami is sentenced to beheading by Yu, but luckily he manages to escape to the seashore, where Mayo is the boatman. Sarami is ready to escape, but his alien women were waiting for him on the boat, and he flees from there to a tea house, where Risa serves him tea and dangos. He thinks he's safe and relaxes for a while, but the alien women arrive and he runs away again. Sarami arrives at a village and puts on some women's clothes that he found in the forest, but that causes Miss Mikado to mistake him for her sister, and then she attacks him with her sumo strength. Sarami returns to the forest and runs into Maikan. She thinks he's a bear and plays with him until she gets tired and sends him flying to the beach, where he meets Lala. She thinks he is a turtle, and immediately he transforms into a turtle, and Lala orders him to take her to the castle at the bottom of the sea. Unfortunately for Sarami, his alien women were also waiting for him there. Sarami leaves his turtle suit and swims away, but he is caught by the 7 goddesses of fortune, who are also Lala's, and Lala asks them to return Sarami, since she wants to make sashimi out of him and give it to the royal palace. After that, Lala takes Sarami tied up to the palace, and to make matters worse, the alien women are there again and start tasting Sarami, causing him to wake up horrified from the nightmare. Days later, Rito wakes up with Lala in his bed again, but this time it is different. When Lala wakes up, she is embarrassed that he sees her without and runs away from the room. That is something that has never happened. At breakfast, Lala ignores Rito and he thinks that she is angry with him. So on the way to school, he asks her why she's behaving strangely, and she confesses that she's embarrassed and he doesn't understand why. When they run into her friends, Lala greets them very politely, and they think that Lala is acting strange. At school, Ren again declares his love for Lala, but she's embarrassed and hides behind Rito, and he takes her to the roof to find out what is happening, but Lala starts to behave in a cute and girly way, and that makes him blush and see her in a different way. Then Pig says that he feels that Lala's temperature is very high, and Rito takes her to the infirmary. Miss Mikado checks on Lala and says that she has reversal flu, a type of flu that gives you fever and changes your personality completely. The good news is that it does not affect Earthlings, and the bad news is that the vaccine sent from space will take 7 days to arrive. The changes in Lala are evident. She acts cute, innocent, which makes her classmates fall more in love with her and invite her out. The problem is that Rito also likes the new Lala. The next day, Lala wakes up Rito and tells him that she built a running machine to help him become the greatest of the universe, but the machine quickly overheats and then Lala starts crying because she wanted to help Rito, but everything went wrong and Rito says that he is not angry with her. Later, he goes to talk to Miss Mikado and she tells him that the Earth is very far away in space, and that is why the vaccine will take longer to arrive. At night, the fever attacks Lala again and her personality changes again, and so on for a week, until one day, Rito wakes up alone, and that's strange. When he goes down to the living room, he finds Lala dressed as a general and Zastin reviewing maps. Lala says that she will help Rito become the greatest in the universe, and she plans to do it, take over the Earth with the help of androids that she will build, and Zastin agrees to everything. Immediately, Rito runs to Miss Mikado's house and tells her about Lala's plans to take over Earth, and she tells him that the vaccines will arrive later today and all that remains is to wait. The hours pass and Rito can't take it anymore and goes to the old school building to stop Lala, but she has already built an army of androids to dominate the Earth and crown him as the king of the Earth. To Rito's surprise, Lala told their friends about her plans, and they all agreed that she would dominate the Earth, since they would receive countries as a reward, and Haruna agreed to be commander because Rito will need help to control the Earth. Rito can't believe how everything moves so quickly and says that he opposes Lala's plans. That bothers his friends because they want their rewards and now they are against Rito. But Haruna doesn't want him to be hurt, so she defends him and the battle between androids begins. Suddenly, Yami arrives with the vaccine for Lala, but Zastin intervenes as Lala finally behaves like a conquering princess worthy of Deviluke. Then Lala announces that she will begin domination of planet Earth in 1 minute. Rito is tackled by the androids and begs her to stop this. Although Lala has a different personality, she is still doing all this for Rito. Then Rito remembers all the moments he lived with Lala, and a realization comes to his heart. He loves her, and to everyone's surprise, and especially Haruna, Rito shouts to Lala that he loves her. That seems to wake Lala up from her fever, and she cancels the plans to take over Earth and blushes at Rito's confession. Suddenly, a spaceship descends to Earth, and the thunderous voice of the king of Deviluke says that he will not allow Rito to marry Lala. The spaceship catches Lala and takes her to her father. The king of Deviluke speaks to Earth and tells them that he has no desire to invade them, he only wants to show them his power. Then the king tells Lala that he came to make Rito fulfill his promise of being the greatest man of the universe and asks Lala not to get in the way. It is a promise between men. At night, Rito can't stop thinking about Lala, and when the door of his house opens, he thinks it's her, but it's Zastin. He brings a message from Lala's father that says that Rito, as Lala's fiancé, will represent Earth in a simple game. He must reach the king's spaceship tomorrow. On his way, he will encounter several trials that he has to overcome. If Rito fails, the Earth will be destroyed. The bad news soon becomes known to the inhabitants of the Earth, and the uncertainty about the future causes everyone to despair. Later, Miss Mikado goes to wish Rito luck, and in the afternoon, Sarami calls his friend and wishes him luck too. After that, Mikan shows him the messages of support from their parents and wishes her brother good luck. At night, Rito receives a call from Haruna. She wants to see him, and Rito has to escape through the roof to evade the journalists. They meet in the usual park, and Haruna feels uncomfortable because she remembers Rito's confession of love to Lala, and so does Rito. Even so, he wants to confess his feelings to Haruna as well, and since maybe tomorrow Earth will disappear, he tells her about his feelings and she hugs him, assuring him that everything will be fine tomorrow. The next day at dawn, Rito begins the race to save the Earth, and everyone cheers him and wishes him luck. Meanwhile, Yu goes to Miss Mikado's house to ask for something. The race continues, and Rito is grateful for having trained so much, but the first trials begin. Some gigantic seeds begin to fall from the sky, like rocks and vines grow from them, which trap people. Rito evades them easily at first, until he trips, but he is rescued by Yu. She quickly loads him into Miss Mikado's truck. There is also Sarami. Yu explains to Rito that the only rule of the game is that he reaches the king of Deviluke's spaceship, but there is no rule that prohibits him from receiving help. Miss Mikado drives quickly, shortening Rito's path to the spaceship, but suddenly, the ground opens and it is impossible to continue on land. But Seki gives the surprise and puts Rito and her friends on her personal helicopter. She says that Lala is her rival. If Rito wins, it will be like beating Lala and her father. Suddenly, some projectiles begin to attack the helicopter, but fortunately, it is saved by Yami, who reminds him that her mission is to eliminate him one day. Meanwhile, Mio and Risa go to Haruna's house, who is watching Rito's broadcast. They tell her that they should go help Rito, and they get into Ren's flying car. On the other hand, Rito and his friends are having difficulties with a green slime, which has them surrounded, but his friends decide themselves and manage to get him out of confinement and urge him to win the game. Lala and the king of Deviluke watch everything, and she asks him not to harm her friends, and he assures her that no one will get hurt, but he needs to test Rito. Suddenly, Rito reaches the last obstacle, giant flowers that release a substance to sleep and make the victim dream. Rito opens his eyes, and suddenly he is with Lala and Haruna. They tell him that it is not necessary for him to choose one of them. The three of them can be happy, and they take him to a... The hours pass, and Rito is still standing asleep among the flowers, and the deadline to reach the spaceship is running out. Suddenly, Haruna arrives where Rito is, and Lala watches him from the window, and both girls yell at him to wake up, and he does it. Rito wakes up from his dream and continues running at high speed because time is running out, and he finally reaches the finish line. Behind him, Haruna also arrives, but she stops when Lala leaves the spaceship and buries herself in Rito's arms, crying, and he hugs her too. Then the king of Deviluke tells him that he won, and now there is only one thing left to do: celebrate the wedding. Rito does not want to get married, and the king of Deviluke tells him that he recognizes him as the greatest man in the universe and gives him permission to marry Lala, since he has shown that only she matters to him. Even so, Rito is not so sure about that because he keeps looking at Haruna. Lala realizes this, and she herself stops the wedding, saying that the engagement only made Rito suffer, and she, as princess of Deviluke, annuls it. Zastin says that according to Deviluke's laws, the Earth must be destroyed, but Lala says that will not be necessary. She invokes one of her inventions and says that she will erase the memories of all the inhabitants of the Earth, including Rito. Lala wants to start over without being his fiancée or princess. Rito asks her to not do it, but Lala has already made a decision. She tells him that she loves him and says goodbye to him before activating the memory eraser ray. The next day, Lala returns to school as a new transfer student and introduces herself to the entire class, but to her surprise, everyone remembers her, since as always, her invention did not work well. Rito tells her that he is happy to see her and hopes to see her for a long time, and she tearfully throws herself into his arms. Days later in PE class, Sarami can't stop looking at female and Rito scolds him. This causes Sarami to be envious of him because he lives with Lala and he has surely seen her without. Lala listens a little to the boys' conversation and is left thinking about the boys and their taste for since she doesn't understand it. Then, in the women's changing room, she asks her classmates, and they all answer the differences between. Lala seems to understand but still has doubts, and she goes to ask Saki, and she immediately puts on a to show her what a perfect female should look like. Finally, Lala goes to talk to Yami and asks her what she thinks about, but she's embarrassed and prefers not to answer and goes to a nearby mirror to carefully observe her body. Yami has the power to shapeshift her body, so she changes her thin body into a more one. Unfortunately for Rito, he's passing by and saw her, and she gets angry and starts chasing him. Meanwhile, Lala has finished building her new invention, a pink rocket that alters the body's hormones to make her grow to the size Rito wants. She wants Rito to fall in love with her, so she's willing to do whatever it takes to get it. But suddenly, Rito falls from the sky onto Lala's pink rocket and it. When the smoke clears, Lala sees a girl liking Rito. When Mikan returns home, she can't believe when Lala tells her that Rito is now a girl. Rito is desperate to be a boy again, so Lala proposes to operate on him, but he refuses because it will hurt him. Then Lala suggests giving him a bucket of hormone pills, but Rito doesn't think it's a good idea either, so Lala says she'll build another invention to help him. Rito is very angry with the situation, so Mikan asks him to calm down and take a bath to relax. But Rito doesn't want to do it because he doesn't dare to look at his own body, so Lala takes him to the bathroom and bathes Rito's new body since now they are both girls. But even so, Rito can't help but turn red as a tomato. After that, Lala and Mikan give Rito girl clothes, but he doesn't want to wear a so he runs away from his house. On the way, Rito runs into Haruna, but she doesn't recognize him, and Rito continues running away embarrassed, until he runs into Run promoting her upcoming DVD, but accidentally she sneezes and turns into Ren. Then all his fans start to look at Rito and notice his body, so he runs away again, uncomfortable from the male gaze. Until the worst happens, Rito runs into Sarayama and tries to ask him out on a date, and then to top it all off, the school principal also falls in love with Rito and tries to kiss him. Luckily, Saki stops him, and with one blow, he knocks them both out and takes Rito to her mansion. When Rito wakes up, he realizes that he has no clothes, and Saki tells him that she threw away those ugly boy clothes, and her minions quickly dress Rito in a tight dress. Rito doesn't want to tell her true identity, so Saki believes that the girl lost her memory and decides to take care of Rito until he recovers it. Meanwhile, Lala has finally finished the device that will turn Rito back into a boy. Surprisingly, while Rito is bathing with Saki and her friends, he begins to imagine what his life would be like if he stayed a girl and thinks that he would save himself a lot of beatings, but he is still not convinced of the idea. The girls see that Rito is thoughtful and they all surround him to offer him their help, but Rito's body begins to change. Suddenly, Lala enters with her new invention and transforms Rito into a boy. He is immediately happy, but Saki and her friends do not take it well and start beating him severely. Days later, Mikan feels strange and agitated, everything bothers her and she gets frustrated easily, and above all, she is dazzled by the usual comical situations of Lala and Rito. Rito is worried about his sister, as Lala and Peak explains to them that everything is normal. Mikan is going through puberty. Later, Mikan goes out for a walk and wonders why she is so agitated, and she keeps remembering the good times she had with her brother. Meanwhile, Rito and Lala look for Mikan and find Saki and Today is the mall's anniversary, and since she is the face of the place, she's going to do a parade showing off her beautiful body. They ask her if she has seen Mikan, but she thinks they are asking her about tangerines and says that it is inside the market. Rito and Lala run in to look for Mikan, but they run into Yu, and they tell her that they are looking for Mikan, since she is a little grumpy. This is heard by Saki, who continues to believe that they are looking for tangerines and proposes a competition to tell them where to find it. Meanwhile, a taciturn Mikan sits on a bench and Yami sees her and offers her a taiyaki, and Mikan tells her that she doesn't understand why she feels sad, and Yami quickly realizes that Mikan feels lonely. Back at the mall, Seki proposes a barbecue competition. Lala has to beat her and make a barbecue tastier than hers, and Rito will be the judge. But Saki's barbecue is salty and Lala's is so spicy that Rito runs to drink water and trips, making a mess and dirtying the girls. Then Saki declares a tie and shows them where the tangerines are, and Rito can't believe they lost so much time for nothing. Rito and Lala separate to look for Mikan, and he runs into Haruna. She tells him that she saw Mikan sitting on a bench near the train station, and after Rito explained what happened at home, Haruna says that it is normal for Haruna to feel lonely. Mikan is a younger sister who loves her brother, and when an older brother does not realize what happens to a younger sister, the heart feels alone. Rito runs at high speed until he finds Mikan, and that touches her because her brother is worried about her, and he suggests taking a walk together. They have a good time like old times, and while eating ice cream, Mikan teases Rito about his love situation. Since he seems to love two girls at the same time, Rito blushes and plays dumb. Finally, they go to a park, and Mikan sits on a swing and makes a joke to Rito, by saying that they are not related by and can get married. Rito is speechless and shocked, and Mikan bursts into laughter when she sees his face and tells him that she is joking, and they both continue remembering their childhood, especially a time when they were happy playing in the snow. Lala overhears this and summons one of her inventions, a snowmaking machine. Suddenly, it starts snowing in the park, and Mikan silently thanks Lala for taking care of her too. Lala is happy that the siblings have reconciled, and she wants to see her sisters, Lala and Momo. Days later, Haruna wins a trip to a beach resort thanks to the lottery. 10 girls can go with her, and her friends Mayo and Riza are in charge of looking for them. On the day of the trip, they pick up Lala and Mikan, and Haruna leaves her dog to Rito, since Haruna's sister is also going on the trip. The problem is that Lala hasn't finished packing yet, and her room is a mess full of inventions. Suddenly, Haruna's dog escapes and goes to Lala's room, and Rito runs to catch it and accidentally steps on one of Lala's inventions, changing bodies with Haruna's dog and turning into a bag, which is taken on the trip without the other girls noticing. During the plane trip, Saki will be their stewardess and tells them that they will go to a private island with only women. When they arrive at the beach resort, the girls run to put on their suits, and Lala notices a strange dog-shaped bag, which turns into Haruna's dog, but he is actually Rito. It almost is so red when he realizes that he's in Lala's arms and she's without. Rito dog wants to run away, but he runs into Haruna, and Lala explains that maybe the dog came by accident and no one suspects that the dog is Rito. The girls spend phenomenal days at the beach, enjoying the sun, sand, and sea. One night after dinner, Haruna takes Rito dog out while she and Oshizu take a bath, but the problem with Rito's transformation is that he has dog instincts and opens the door to enter the room and make a mess with girls' clothes. When the girls finish bathing, Haruna scolds Rito dog for messing up everything and leaves him outside again. At that moment, Rito human's consciousness returns, and he realizes what he did, and he blames Lala because he is like this because of one of her inventions. The days go by, and the girls continue having fun at the resort, and on the last night, they all go to bathe together and take Rito dog with them, and he doesn't know whether or not to look at the girls through the glass. Meanwhile, at Rito's house, a human Rito's body is still out. Days later, Rito receives a letter that transports him to an RPG world, run by 2 pink-haired girls who have Lala. In the RPG world, he meets Haruna, Mikan, and Yui, and they are told that they must overcome several obstacles and defeat the demon lord to recover Lala and return to their world. The problem is that while his friends are warriors, magicians, or heroines, he's just a florist. After facing minor obstacles, they arrive at a casino. Where Mayo and Risa are, they are wearing typical casino lady clothes and seem to enjoy their roles in the RPG world. All this is observed by 2 pink-haired girls who observe Rito's behavior with the girls, and one of them thinks that he is not reliable and the other says that he is cute and awakens her maternal instincts. In the night, they go to an inn and meet Miss Mikado. She is the innkeeper of the place, and she tells them that the showers are divine, and they all run to bathe after a long day. At bedtime, Rito takes his sofa out into the hallway because he doesn't want to make the girls uncomfortable, but in the middle of the night, Haruna and Yui bring him quilts to cover himself since the night is cold. This is watched by the 2 pink-haired girls, and they think that Rito really is popular with the girls. Later, Rito is awakened by Kyoko, the magical girl. In this world, she is the demon lord, and she tells Rito that she has captured Lala. If he wants to rescue her, he must defeat her. But that is impossible, so she offers him a deal. If he abandons Lala and becomes her boyfriend, she will send all of them to the real world, which shocks Rito, and he is left speechless. The pink-haired girls watch everything and think that the customizing program made a mistake because the demon lord is very selfish. Returning to Rito, Kyoko tells him that an event will begin soon and blows up the inn, and they are teleported to a castle. There, they are attacked by skeleton warriors, but Yami suddenly appears and saves them. They continue advancing until they run into Ren, Saki, and her minions. Fortunately, they don't know how to use spells, and they end up using a random one to make their grow. Finally, they reach the last room of the castle and find Lala asleep, but Kyoko is also there. She tells him that it is time to choose her or Lala, unless he is in love with someone else that gives Haruna hope. But Rito is not intimidated and tells Kyoko that he may love Lala, but he is still not sure if what he feels is love. At that moment, Lala wakes up and tells him that it doesn't matter if he don't love her. She loves him. That bothers Kyoko because she thinks that they escaped the final challenge and decides to eliminate them all using her firepower. The pink-haired girls observe the situation worriedly and think that the game has a bug, so they intervene and tell Rito to use his florist powers and lift his watering can. This immediately powers up and puts out Kyoko's fire, finally defeating her. Then the pink-haired girls their costumes and introduce themselves. They are Momo and Nana, Lala's little twin sisters. They say that they wanted to know more about humans and especially about Rito, and an RPG game is the best to know what they will do in extreme situations, and thanks to that, they discover that Lala has good friends. Suddenly, Kyoko appears again since the bug is affecting the game and the twins cannot find the remote control that controls the game, so the data starts to glitch. Kyoko becomes giant and wants to eliminate them all, but the twins have a plan B. They become a giant dog and flower and defeat Kyoko, managing to turn off the RPG world. After that, everyone returned to the human world, including Momo and Mama. Days later, Rito wakes up with a strange feeling and discovers Momo in his bed, and when Mekan comes in to wake him up, she sees the two of them together and thinks the worst. Suddenly, Nana also enters and thinks the worst when Momo says that maybe Rito doesn't remember what they did last night. Then Nana takes Momo to the bathroom and tells her that she shouldn't be interested in Rito because he is Lala's candidate, but Momo says that she doesn't understand love and she should see for herself. Later, while Lala and Rito are on their way to school, the pink-haired twins follow them secretly to see them interact. Rito and Lala run into Haruna and her friends, and he trips over a can and falls to the ground instead of landing on Haruna like always, since Haruna has learned to avoid him. When they get to school, Yu scolds Lala because she is too clingy with Rito. Unfortunately for Rito, the classic accidents that always happen to him today, they also happen, like accidentally seeing being kissed by Ren, etc., and everything is seen by the twins, which makes Nana not see him favorably. Then Momo says that they have to give him another chance, they have to test his reflexes, and they decide to use their powers to talk to plants and animals. Later, Rito is attacked by giant animals and plants during the day, leaving him badly beaten when he gets home, and Lala has to bandage his body as if he were a mummy. Meanwhile, the twins take a bath together, and Nana doesn't understand how Lala got engaged to a useless and weak human, but Momo is still convinced that there must be something good for her sister to be so in love with him, so she concludes that Rito is pretending to be useless and weak, and they decide to continue observing him. After bathing, Mekan tells them that they will go do flower viewing, a Japanese tradition that consists of observing the fall of cherry blossoms. Nana is interested in going, but Momo excuses them, saying that they have something to do and won't be able to go with them. Alone, Momo tells Nana that she has an idea to see Rito's true character. Later, Rito, Lala, and Mekan go to the park where the cherry blossoms fall and choose a beautiful hill where they meet Haruna and Oshizu, who now own a living body. Meanwhile, Momo and Nana are away from them, and Momo uses her power to manipulate the plants and summons a pine tree that releases a special pollen. When someone inhales this pollen, repressed desires are released and your true character comes to light. Suddenly, the pine tree releases its pollen, and the first victim is Haruna. She snaps out of nowhere and yells at Rito to make up his mind once and for all. She is tired of waiting for him to clarify his feelings. Rito doesn't understand anything and thinks that Haruna is, but he can't continue talking to her because Yu drops her facade as a morally correct girl and asks Rito to do whatever he wants with her. Rito is left speechless when he sees that Yu acts strange, and the worst happens. Mekan also begins to hug him and tickle him. The other affected person is Yami. She hallucinates that the lake is a spa and wants everyone to enter without. Meanwhile, the twins are worried because the effect of pollen is worse on humans than on Devilukes. Now everyone is acting crazy, except Rito. The girls are the ones who are worse affected by the pollen, since they hallucinate that Rito is everywhere and they want to kiss him. But Rito manages to escape. All this is observed by the twins, and Momo says that Rito is not affected because he always acts without restrictions and therefore has no suppressed desires, just like Lala. Nana doesn't think that's true, so she asks the pine tree to release more pollen, but the wind changes direction and the pine tree inhales its own pollen and gets. The pine tree traps the twins with its branches, and Lala realizes what is happening and tries to help them. But Yami offers to free them. The problem is that she continues hallucinating and doesn't know where to attack. Suddenly, the pine tree grabs Lala too, and that gives Yami a clue where to attack. But when she cuts one of its branches, Nana falls and Rito runs to catch her. Then Nana looks for Momo's dialer and deactivates the pine tree. In the end, Nana tells Rito that it was not necessary for him to save her because she is a Deviluke and a fall from that height would not hurt her. But she sincerely thanks him, and her perception of him changes for the better. At night, Nana decides to go sleep in Rito's room, but to her surprise, Momo and Lala were already sleeping with him and she can't help but shout, scolding at them. Days later at school, Yu scolds a student for dressing inappropriately, and since the boy is Yami intervenes and transforms her hair into several blades and scares the with them. But in the process, she accidentally cuts off Yu's. After that, Yu continues patrolling the school as morale president, but she feels a breeze between her legs and realizes that she has nothing under her skin. Yu tries to get to where her p***s are, but the way is very difficult. She has to go downstairs, pass by open windows, etc. Then she gets to where these are supposed to be, but she can't find them, since Yami took them to return them to her. After that, Yu goes outside and sees Lala and Rito petting a puppy. But Oshizu appears, and she gets so scared when she sees the dog that she pushes Yu and she falls. Unfortunately, Rito sees her and Yu punches him so hard that Rito and does not remember what he saw. The next day, while Mikan goes shopping, she sees Peek scanning clothes so he can transform himself into outfits for Lala, and when he finishes, Peek accompanies Mikan home. Suddenly, a thief steals Mikan's shopping bag with her wallet inside, and Peek tells her to use him like Lala does. She doesn't want it at first, but Peek convinces her and Peek puts Lala's flying clothes on Mikan. She flies looking for the thief until she finds him and realizes that he is an alien, but he hits her and Mikan loses Peek's transformation. Then Peek transforms Mikan's clothes into an outfit similar to Yami's. When Mikan finds the alien thief again, he gets scared because he thinks Mikan is Yami, but when he sees that her hair is not golden, he wants to attack her. Luckily, Rito appears and kicks him. But the alien thief gets angry and takes out his laser gun and threatens to eliminate them. In that moment, Yami appears and defeats him and praises Mikan's clothes. After that, at home, Lala shows Rito that she renovated her room, but he notices that there are still a bunch of inventions lying around and grabs one. To Rito's bad luck, that item electrocutes him and he falls on Lala's tail and his hand remains stuck to it. Peek tells them that the item was a powerful magnet that makes Rito's hand unable to let go of Lala's tail, but the magnetization will go away over time. Lala feels uncomfortable because her tail is very sensitive, even though Rito is as gentle as possible. The day goes by and Rito can't stop blushing because he has to accompany Lala all the time, even when she goes to the bathroom or takes a shower. And on top of that, they have to sleep in the same bed because they can't be separated. He is used to waking up with Lala in his bed, not going to sleep with her from the beginning. Before going to sleep, Lala tells him that she loves spending the day with him and would like to do it again. When dawn breaks, Rito has dark circles under his eyes because he couldn't sleep all night until he feels his hand come away from Lala's tail and gets out of bed in celebration. Sometime later, Rito and Lala start their day like every morning. Lala walks around the house without, while Rito has to tell her that she can't do that, although she doesn't understand why. Then Mikan warns them that if they don't eat breakfast soon, they will be late for school, and that's what happens. On the way to school, Lala takes Rito's hand and runs at alien speed, but he can't breathe, so he asks her to stop, and she stops so abruptly that Rito goes flying from the impulse and falls on the roof where Yami is. She thinks he is challenging her and punches him back to where Lala is. When he stands up, Lala tells him that this place is where he confessed his feelings to her a year ago, and then they got engaged. Now she knows that he was confessing his feelings to another girl and wonders who it is, and Rito remains silent. Then Lala says that this place is very special to her, and it seems appropriate to tell him here that she likes him the most in the universe. Rito blushes and she promises to make him like her. But now the problem is that they are late for school, so Lala uses her invention to teleport them to school. Unfortunately, they are teleported without to school in front of all the students. For Lala, that is not a problem, but Rito is of embarrassment. At night, Lala, Rito, and Mikan go to a public bath, which includes springs, and meet Yami, since she regularly goes there, and they do not realize that they were followed by two aliens. Inside, the girls enjoy the artificial springs and Mikan gets sad because Yami doesn't pay her much attention and Yami warns her that they shouldn't be friends. Suddenly, a wall and an alien controlling Rito appears. He is behind Yami and tells her that now he will control Rito to defeat her. Rito begins to attack Yami against his will and she reduces her strength so as not to hurt him, and that makes the alien realize that they are friends, to prevent them from thinking that Yami sends Rito flying with one punch. Then Mikan says that she will go find those who control Rito, but Yami asks her not to meddle in her problems, and Mikan snaps saying that she should rely more on her friends. While Mikan goes to look for the aliens, they keep making Rito grab the girls, and they don't realize that they are making a lot of noise, and Mikan finds out where they are quickly. Mikan alerts Yami, but is not necessary for her to act since Lala uses one of her inventions to control Rito's body and defeat the two aliens and finally break their bond with Rito. In the end, Yami thanks Mikan for discovering where the enemies were, and that makes Mikan hope that Yami will consider them friends. The next day at school, Yu meets with the school moral council and tells them that the rules must be tightened because the delinquents are increasing every day. Then she goes to her classroom and begins to take points from her classmates for having fashion magazines, having them shorter than normal, and in Lala's case, she confiscates one of her inventions and warns Rito that she will take more points from him if she sees him doing something shameless. Later, as she patrols the school hallways, Yu scolds Saki, since she's not wearing the school uniform but a lady's dress because she wants to make Zaston fall in love with her. But Saki doesn't care about Yu's scolding and teases her that she doesn't understand what girl does for love because she has never fallen in love. And that leaves Yu thoughtful. After class, she stays in the classroom removing points from the students on her list, and Rito sees her and says that she shouldn't do everything alone. Later, Yu leaves school and finds Yami reading a book of romantic literature. Yami tells her that according to the book, love happens when one least expects it, and although Yami doesn't understand it, she would like to feel it one day. On the way home, Yu can't stop thinking about love, and suddenly, it starts to rain and she takes refuge in some games in the park, and she is surprised when she sees Rito there. He was also looking for a roof so as not to get wet. Yu takes the opportunity to return Lala's invention to Rito, but he realizes that the school principal is passing by and covers her with his body, but Yu's heart races so much that she thinks he is going to kiss her. When he separates his body from her, she realizes that he was protecting her from the director's gaze and is ashamed for thinking that he was going to kiss her. Suddenly, the rain stops and she runs away, leaving Rito with Lala's invention, and as always, the next day, Yu scolds Lala because she brought a lot of her inventions to school and can cause problems, and that's what happens. Haruna and Rito grab an object and are transported to a dark place. He thinks he is alone, and without realizing it, he begins to Haruna's body until she hits him. Then they both realize that they are in a dark place, alone and without. Meanwhile, Lala uses her robot sniffer dog to track them. In the dark room, Haruna is scared and Rito decides to talk to her to distract her. So he asks her about her parents, and she tells him that they moved and now she lives with her sister. Then Rito says that her father is a mangaka and his mother is a designer. They travel a lot, so he doesn't see them very often. Suddenly, the door opens and Miss Mikado sees them and teases them by saying that they are very daring and reveals that they are in the unused room of her clinic. At that moment, Lala and Yu arrive. Lala is happy to see them and Yu scolds them for not having on. In the afternoon, Maiken is nervous because her homeroom teacher will come to talk to her dad say bye, but he tells her that he won't be able to go home today, and Lala decides to dress Rito like their dad. When Maiken's homeroom teacher arrives, she introduces herself nervously because she's a fan of Seibei's manga, and Rito is so nervous that he can't stop stuttering. The teacher takes the opportunity and asks Rito for an autograph, thinking that he is Seibei, and Rito can't stop shaking, thinking that she will find out the truth, so he autographs the teacher's sweater instead of the manga that she gave him. Then Lala gives Rito some Deviluke tea to calm him down, but that tea has the opposite effects on humans. For them, it is like drinking, and Rito is now. So everything goes downhill when he accidentally pulls down the teacher and Maiken's clothes. The next day, the teacher talks to Maiken and says that she will support her with her difficult family situation, and Maiken cannot believe the mess her brother made. Days after, Lala and Rito invite Yami to their house to make her try earthly food, and they also invite Haruna. At night, Lala tells them that Nana and Momo return to Deviluke because their father doesn't like them spending a lot of time away from the planet. Maiken then asks Yami about her powers, but she is reluctant to talk and tells them that her powers are not good because she only uses them to hurt others. But Lala brings a piece of tofu and asks Yami to cut it with her blades, and she does so, thus demonstrating that her powers can be used for whatever she wants. Later, Maiken and Lala invite Yami and Haruna to stay the night, and that makes Rito nervous, so he goes to take a bath to relax, but he takes so long that Lala thinks he's already out. So she uses one of her inventions to transform the bathtub into a huge pool, and Rito swims to the bottom so they don't discover him and can get out without them noticing. He almost makes it, but Peak inadvertently deactivates Lala's device and the pool shrinks back to a bathtub, and all the girls freak out when they see that Rito was with them the whole time. This makes Yami angry, and she chases him around the house using her blades made from her hair. The next day at school, the class representative gives Rito some printouts for Yu, since she has a cold and missed classes. Meanwhile, at Yu's house, she is already recovering from her fever because she's being taken care of by her older brother, but she doesn't want to ask him to help her pass a wet cloth over her body to remove the sweat, so she does it herself. Then the doorbell rings and Yu's brother opens the door and sees Rito. He gives him the printouts for Yu, but Yu's brother tells him that he can go up and give them to her. Rito goes up to Yu's room and enters without knocking and sees Yu's almost body, earning a good hit from her. After that, the atmosphere is awkward between them, so Rito grabs a stuffed cat and asks her if she likes cats. She gets embarrassed and tries to take it from him, but she falls on top of him, and that's how her brother finds them. He immediately closes the door thinking he interrupted something. Yu and Rito are blushing because of what happened, and when it seems like they are going to say something to each other, the door opens and all of Yu's friends come in, bringing her get-well gifts, and Yu wonders what would have happened if they had stayed 2 more minutes alone. The next day, Ryo goes to tell Lala that if she doesn't hurry, he will be late for class, but he can't find her in her room, so he decides to go without her. But some call glasses catch his attention and he puts them on, but then he can't take them off, so he goes to school with them on. On the way to school, he realizes that he sees things differently, but when he bumps into people, he can see through their and that includes girls, so he runs around trying not to look at anyone. At school, he gets used to it and tries to not look a lot, but to his bad luck, Run appears and tells him that she will now be in his classroom because she wants to be close to him. Then she notices his cool glasses and he tells her that they are Lala's and he can't take them off, so she tries to take them off by force, but she puts her body very close to his and Rito escapes, because now the glasses are more powerful and he can see the people without completely. Rito runs to the school leader and Lala flies over and asks him why he is wearing her defective work glasses, and he scolds her for building such a invention, but she explains that she uses them to look inside the machines. Suddenly, Run runs towards them and tries to take Rito's glasses again, but she sneezes and turns into Ren, unfortunately. So much movement made them both fall and Rito can fully see Ren's body and he almost vomits. The next day in class, Rito notices that his friend is sad and Sarami tells him that he fell in love at first sight with a girl and can't find her, and Lala says that she will help him find her. Rito realizes who Rito is referring to and asks Lala to give up because Sarami is in love with the female version of Rito, but that makes Lala happy because her task will be easier. Later, Lala convinces Rito to go on a date with Sarami just once and he accepts, so she turns him into a girl. When Sarami sees Rito girl, he tells her that he bought movie tickets and Rito is relieved because she just has to sit and watch a movie, but it's a romance one and Sarami spends the entire show trying to hold her hand. When the movie ends, Sarami takes her to see 2 more romantic movies because he wants to hold her hand, and Rito agrees to watch them with him but avoids all contact. In the afternoon, Rito tells him that they should say goodbye, and out of nowhere, her body begins to fluctuate. She is starting to transform into a boy. So before Sarami realizes it, Rito runs away and Sarami vows to ask her to be his girlfriend when he sees her again. The next day, Lala, Rito, and their friends meet Yami, who is always is reading, but this time she is reading a fashion magazine and Rito tells her that the model on the cover is wearing a dress designed by his mom. The girls admire Rito's mother, but they don't know her because she travels a lot. So Mayo and Riza decide to make Yami try on Earth clothes and take her to a shopping center. She seems to be interested in, but the girls put her in a fitting room and give her clothes to wear. Yami tries on different styles until the girls are happy with a cute look. Even Rito says that she looks good. Suddenly, some members approach Yami to force her to go on a date with them, but Rito intervenes to defend her, although that is not necessary because Yami easily defeats them. Unfortunately, she ripped her in the fight and that makes her sad and she decides to wear her combat dress again. Although she keeps some clothes from the earthly world, days later, one night, Haruna takes her dog for a walk but feels that someone is following her and runs away as fast as she can and runs into Oshizu, who was leaving Miss Mikado's clinic to buy medical supplements. Oshizu takes her inside her and Lala and Rito were also there. Haruna tells them that every night follows her when she takes her dog for a walk. Lala is worried about her, so she proposes to switch bodies to catch the Haruna accepts and Lala summons her body changing machine. After changing bodies, Rito blushes because Lala is in Haruna's body and hugs him as always, but he feels that it is Haruna. After that, Lala in Haruna's body takes Haruna's dog for a walk and soon appears, but when she wants to catch him, she realizes that Haruna's earthly body is weak and Oshizu intervenes and catches the. It turns out that the was a dog alien, and he is in love with Haruna's dog. But since he is a type of dog, Oshizu gets scared because she has a phobia of dogs and hits him so hard that they have to take him to Miss Mikado's clinic. The next day, Rito goes in to bathe and finds Momo and Nana, and Lala didn't even know they were there. When they get dressed, Momo and Nana ask Lala how far she got with Rito, and he blushes so much that they think they already kissed. Suddenly, Zastan and his men in black enter the house and Zastan says that he has orders from the king of Deviluke to send the twins back to their planet since they ran away because they don't want to study, and Lala comically remembers that she was the same way. The twins don't want to go back to Deviluke, so they escape and hide under a bridge. But Zastan quickly finds them and they propose a duel. If they manage to defeat him, he will let them live on Earth. Zastan accepts because he knows that they can only talk to plants and animals, but what he doesn't know is that they raised a wild boar and a pinnacone, and they can use them to attack. The fight doesn't last long, and Zastan has to call the king of Deviluke to tell him about his defeat. After that, Nana and Momo ask Maiken for permission to stay there, and she says they can use the attic room. The next day, Seki wakes up sad like every morning since she hasn't seen Zastan since she met him for the first time. He was a gentleman helping her move her car to the correct position. Later at school, Aya and Rin get worried when they see Saki so sad, so they start looking for Rito since he knows Zastan. Meanwhile, Rito is hiding from Lala since she cooked a special bento for him using ingredients from Deviluke, and he is so focused on hiding that he doesn't realize that Rin and Aya are about to him. They take them to the roof and Aya hits him with a wooden sword so that he calls Zastin, and the warrior comes to the school and Rito accepts, but is shocked when they tell him that Saki wants to declare his feelings to Zastin. While Rin goes to tell Saki the good news, Aya is left alone with Rito, and she tells him that she does everything for Saki because when she was a kid, the children her until Saki found out and beat everyone with help of Rin. That's a surprise to Rito, so he hopes Saki does well with her confession to Zastin. Later, Zastin arrives at school and meets Saki. She is very nervous, as is Rito, who is watching them from afar. Suddenly, Lala arrives with her Deviluke-style bento and forces Rito to eat a bite, but the taste is so horrible that Rito runs away from her and on the way interrupts Saki's confession because he trips over her. Saki and her minions are so angry that they chase after Rito to beat him up. Meanwhile, at home, Run receives a package from space. She bought a special skunk. It emits a gas that turns anyone who inhales it into a child, and Run wants Lala to inhale it to turn her into a kid and finally defeat her and keep Rito for her. Unfortunately, the space skunk gases Run and she turns into a little girl. The next day, little Run goes to school crying and tells Lala and Rito about the skunk, which escaped from her. Then Lala and Rito find it in some bushes and the skunk sprays Lala with its gas, turning her into a little girl too. Rito runs after the skunk, but it gets into the school and sprays its gas at Yua, who is left crying because she is now a little girl and Haruna has to take care of her. Quickly, the skunk turns everyone into children and finally climbs to the roof. Their Run catches it with a box, but she falls from the roof. Fortunately, Lala catches her with a sturdy rope and Run feels bad for wanting to hurt her, but that feeling doesn't last because when Lala tries to climb her, only the skunk is caught and Run falls to the ground. Weeks later, the girls are excited because it's almost Valentine's Day, and that catches Yu's attention, since she never thought of giving chocolates to a boy, but now she wants to give one to Rito, since she heard him say to Sarami that he would be happy if he received friendship chocolates. In the afternoon, she buys ingredients to make friendship chocolates for Rito, and her brother teases her because he knows they are for Rito. After a hard day of work, Yu finished making a chocolate kitten for Rito, but just thinking about how she has to give it to him personally tomorrow makes her shiver. The next day, Yu sees how Risa and Wio hand their friendship chocolates without worrying to Sarami and Rito, and she wishes she could do the same, so later, she gathers courage and tries to give them to him, but Run interrupts them and tackles Rito, and he falls on her, so she hits him and leaves. Later, Yu sees how Lala and Haruna give their chocolates to Rito, and he receives them happily. Then she gathers courage again and gives her friendship chocolate to Rito, and he is very happy because the friendship chocolate means that Yu considers him a friend. When Rito returns home, Mikan gives him Valentine's chocolates as well and is surprised to see that Yu gave him chocolates, and even though Rito clarifies that they are friendship chocolates, Mikan teases him by saying that it is suspicious. Days later, Saki invites Rito and his friends to her private beach, and everyone enjoys a nice day at the beach, except Rito because Miss Mikado asked him to put sunscreen on her back, and he was so nervous that he fell on Nana. And since she has a short temper, she sends him flying with a punch. Meanwhile, Seki brings a bunch of watermelons to have a contest of who can break them the fastest, but no one knows that she has been secretly practicing to beat Lala at something. Unfortunately, the contest is ruined because Rito falls from the sky onto the watermelons, and they all break. Then Lala says that Momo can summon a space watermelon because she can talk to plants, but she brings a watermelon monster who will give them some of itself. But some are not convinced that it will be tasty, and that offends the watermelon monster, so he starts attacking them with its juice and vines and quickly grabs Lala by her tail and tries to eat her. Rito gets angry and starts trying to break the watermelon monster with a stick, but it's so hard that Rito can't do it. Fortunately, Yami slays the watermelon monster with her wooden sword and blindfolded, as she believed they were playing. After that, everyone eats the monster's watermelon and Lala doesn't stop smiling because Rito tried to rescue her. Days later at school, the students receive their exam grades and Rito did poorly and will have to repeat the exam tomorrow. He feels ashamed of his grades and tries to hide, but Yami sees him and says that sometimes studying with someone is easier. Later, Rito spends the day studying but barely understands, and Pete tells him that he should ask Lala for help, since she got the highest grade and is so intelligent that her family wanted her to be a renowned scientist in Deviluke, but Lala only likes to invent silly gadgets. Suddenly, Lala enters Rito's room only wearing a towel and says that she will help him study, and Rito accepts but asks her to put on clothes, and Peek sleepily becomes clothes for Lala. Hours later, Rito is more optimistic because Lala teaches very well, but suddenly, her clothes begin to disintegrate because Peek ran out of energy. Rito tries to cover her before her clothes disappear completely, but he falls on her and Mika finds them like that. The next day, Rito can't concentrate on the makeup exam because he can't stop thinking about what happened with Lala. Later, when Rito leaves his classroom, Lala tries to hug him and he reminds her that he doesn't want her to hug him so suddenly. That leaves Lala thoughtful, and Mayo and Risa give her a magazine to conquer the boys she likes, and Lala reads it carefully. According to the magazine, the first thing she should do is invite Rito on a date without him knowing, and she asks Rito if he wants to take a detour on the way home today, and he accepts. Later, while they are walking through the city, she follows the next advice, acts shy, but Rito doesn't bat an eyelid. Then Lala tries the next advice, acting tsundere, but Rito does not understand what is happening to Lala. Finally, Lala reads the last piece of advice and tells Pete to transform into clothes. Suddenly, Rito is grabbed by Lala dressed in a negligee and climbs on top of him. She flirts with him and he turns very red, but everything ends abruptly because she doesn't know how to continue. Rito is confused and upset by Lala's behavior, and she wonders what she did wrong since she followed all the magazine's advice and still failed. Out of nowhere, tears begin to fall from her eyes, and she hides them without knowing why she cries and feels sad. Then Pig signals to Rito to make him realize that Lala was only following the advice of a magazine, and upon seeing her sad look, he tells her that he thought it was fun to walk around the city, and that makes Lala very happy. The next day, Rito finds Yami in the library and realizes that she is burning with fever. He carries her on his back and takes her to the infirmary, but Miss Mikado is not there. Then Lala tells him that they should run to Miss Mikado's clinics since she took the day off. There, Miss Mikado tells them that Yami has space fever, so they have to put her in the healing capsule immediately, and she asks Rito to help her take Yami off, but Rito can't stop shaking and almost. Luckily, Lala becomes a nurse and helps Miss Mikado with everything. After that, Lala and Rito go to buy teriyakis for Yami, since it is her favorite snack. Later, Yami wakes up in the healing capsule and Miss Mikado explains to her that Rito brought her and he was very worried about her. When Yami leaves the capsule, she tells Miss Mikado that she didn't understand why Rito helped her, and Miss Mikado says that maybe for Rito, they are not enemies, but friends. Suddenly, Rito and Lala enter with a bag full of teriyakis, but unfortunately for Rito, Yami had not finished putting on her clothes yet and tries to attack Rito with her blades. On the other hand, Run is preparing for her TV debut. She is going to be in the Magical Girl Kyoko series, although her role is a villain and she doesn't like that very much. When the recording starts, Run is so nervous that she says her lines badly and forgets to laugh evilly, so the director gives her a break so she can concentrate. Then, Kyoko approaches Run and gives her welcome snacks to the set and tells her that she is her fan, she has read her blog and bought all of her CDs. That makes Run feel bad since she couldn't stop thinking about how much she invited Kyoko earlier. Suddenly, the headmaster of Run's school appears asking for autographs, and he is almost without and Kyoko defends them using her fire powers. Run can't believe that Kyoko has powers and immediately realizes that she is an alien too, and Kyoko tells her that the producer of the series is also an alien. But no one knows, and now Run feels a little more comfortable on set and grateful to have found a new friend. The next day, Haruna encounters a noisy stray dog at the school gates, and after that encounter, she begins to behave differently. She is happier, she laughs and jokes with others, and she is not ashamed to tickle her friends. Later, while Rito is resting in the shade of a tree, Haruna approaches him and confesses that she likes him, which shocks Rito, and he hears wedding bells in his head, so he wants to confess his feelings for her. Suddenly, two stray dogs start fighting behind the fence, and that scares Haruna. But it wasn't Haruna. It was the spirit of Oshizu who had entered Haruna's body. It turns out that Miss Mikado has her artificial body because it needed maintenance, and in the morning, she ran into a stray dog that chased her to the school gate, and she accidentally got into Haruna's body. Oshizu explains that she was going to immediately get out of Haruna's body, but she thought it was fun to experience things from Haruna's point of view, and she blushes and asks her why she confessed her feelings to Rito using her body. But Oshizu whispers to her that that's something her body wanted to do, and she just went along with it, and Haruna blushes. Then, Haruna's friends are glad to have old Haruna starting to tickle. The next day, Risa feels insecure about her body because she gained a little weight and asks Lala how she maintains her figure, but Lala assures her that she has been skinny since birth. Risa says that nowadays it is difficult for boys to like her, they only fall in love with thin girls with big. Rito listens that and says that it is a lie, there are some boys who are not interested in the outside. Risa laughs and doesn't believe him and shows him what's under her, making him. All this is watched by Haruna in silence. Later, Haruna tells Oshizu what happened in the morning and also feels a little insecure about her body because she has a small. They meet Nana, who is a little upset because Momo showed her the new and it's something she can't wear because her is small. Then Oshizu says it's time to grow the girls, and they go to Rito's house. They lock themselves in Nana's room, and Oshizu says that she heard someone say that you have to massage your to make them grow, and since Haruna and Nana feel shy to do so, Oshizu uses her powers to control bodies and makes the two girls massage each other. After that, they don't notice any differences, so Nana decides to search on the space web for a method to grow and reads that they need a space octopus. Then she summons a giant octopus that has to suck on her to make them grow, and although the situation gets a little out of control, the girls are disappointed because it didn't work either. A little tired of everything, Haruna says that she heard someone say that the important thing is not on the outside, and she advises Nana to be happy as she is, but Nana understands that she must work her inside and outside. The next day, while Haruna is walking her dog Maroon, the dog runs to the park and they see a dirty dog who is unconscious. Haruna takes it to her house and feeds him, not knowing that the dog is Rito. He tells Maroon that he and Lala were testing one of her crazy inventions, the body-changing machine. Rito swapped bodies with a little dog and got so scared that he ran away, but the neighbors mistook him for a stray dog and ran him out of the neighborhood, and he ended up in the park. Maroon does not believe him and tells him that from now on he will be his subordinate and will have to obey him in everything. After that, Haruna goes to bathe and bathes Rito too, because he is very dirty and Rito almost dies of embarrassment. Later, Maroon plays with Haruna, and she also wants to play with her new puppy, but Rito doesn't want to. He doesn't dare Haruna's body like Maroon does, but Maroon loses patience and orders him to play with Haruna. So Rito resigns himself and begins to behave like a dog and Haruna's body, but that is too much for him, and he runs away as best he can from Haruna's house and reaches Lala. She changes Rito's body to a human again, and he tells her that he experienced unimaginable things, and Lala proposes changing him to a cat next time. The next day, Mikan and Lala see how Yami uses her wings to return a balloon to a girl, and Mikan says that she would like to switch bodies with Yami one day, and Lala says that it is possible. So Mikan and Yami switch bodies, and Mikan is thrilled to be able to use her wings while Yami goes home with Lala. Later, when Rito gets home, he asks her what she's going to cook, and Yami doesn't understand what he means, and he says that she always cooks. Then Yami cooks a dinner with Tayakis. Meanwhile, Mikan has problems with her wings because she runs out of energy, and she runs into the headmaster of the school, and he chases her because he is in love with her. On the other hand, Yami did not know that Mikan was in charge of the housework and does not know how to clean the bathroom, and when Rito sees her, he thinks that his sister is sick and tells her to take the day. He will do the housework today. Yami is surprised because he is very kind and Rito doesn't understand what she means. At the end of the day, Yami and Mikan switch bodies and say it was fun even though they had some problems. Sometime later, the Christmas season has arrived and Rito wants to invite her to the Christmas party that Mikan organized since his sister is very fond of the former, but he doesn't find her in the places she usually is, and by chance, he runs into Haruna and invites her to go to the Christmas party too. Meanwhile, at Rito's house, Mikan tells Lala that she loves Christmas, but she would like to spend it sometime with her parents since she always spent it alone with Rito because their parents are very busy at work. In another part of the city, Rito finally finds Yami and takes her home to celebrate Christmas, although she doesn't really know what it is. When Mikan sees Yami, she gets very happy, and Lala says that she brought them gifts, and everyone is surprised when she disperses two people. Mikan is shocked to see their parents here after so long, and her mom says that Lala went to look for her in one of her inventions in Paris, while her dad says that Zaston and her men stay behind drawing his mangas for him. At that moment, Haruna also arrives at the party, and Mikan is very happy and secretly thanks Rito and Lala for wanting to make her happy. While they are having dinner, their mom asks Rito, whose daughter Seline is, a little girl who has lived with them for a while, and Rito doesn't know how to tell her that Seline was previously a plant that turned into a little girl, and she considers him her father. Days later, Rito wakes up late and finds that Lala has already left for school and without Peak, since he has not finished charging himself, and Momo tells him that there is a device to charge it faster. But she makes a mistake and Rito's spirit enters Peak's body. So Momo takes Rito Peak to Lala since it would be fun to see how Rito interacts with Lala's body, but Rito has a lot of trouble concentrating and ends up turning into an apron instead of a school uniform for Lala. Later in PE class, Rito managed to turn into a sports uniform for Lala, but is too much for Rito, since he can feel Lala's body, so he loses control and turns Lala's sports clothes into a... This upsets Rito much more, and he begins to spread Peak's power on the other girls, turning their sports clothes into outfits. All this is seen by Momo, who now thinks that it is not so fun to see the trouble Rito is in. So she encapsulates Lala's sportswear in a hair clip and gives it to Lala, taking Rito Peak home. She thanks him for not ratting her out to Lala, and later, Lala scolds Pake because he shouldn't work if he feels tired, and Pake doesn't understand what she's talking about. The next day, Rito goes on a fake date with Run since she lied to Kyoko about her having a boyfriend, and he agreed to pretend to be her boyfriend for a day. Run takes the opportunity to be clingy with him. Even though it makes him uncomfortable, then Kyoko shows him that she has fire powers and gets excited, saying that he will tell Lala. Hearing the way he talks about Lala, Run feels stupid for pretending that she is Rito's girlfriend when she can clearly tell that Rito likes Lala. Suddenly, the school principal appears and starts chasing the girls because he wants an autograph. The girls and Rito run away from him, and Run throws a smoke that repels. But she gets confused and throws a clothing disarming. The girls are left without, and Rito tries not to look at them, so Kyoko the school principal so he doesn't see them, and Rito runs off to find Lala so she can repair their clothes. Alone, Run confesses to Kyoko that she is not Rito's girlfriend, and Kyoko is relieved that the two can continue spending time as friends. Later, Rito and Lala arrive, and Lala, instead of giving them clothes, goes into fangirl mode because she loves Kyoko. Days later, Rito takes Seline for a walk and meets Yu. She can't believe that Garden Flower has turned into a little girl, and Rito says that they are the mysteries of the universe. Seline likes Yu, so she hugs her. An old woman says that they are a nice couple with their daughter, and that makes Yu blush. Suddenly, Seline runs away and goes to drink Coke at a convenience store, and Rito has to pay by apologizing to the seller. But that's not all. The Coke makes Seline. The little girl starts running and spreading her pollen, and this pollen makes the people who inhale it fall in love with Rito, since Seline loves Rito very much. Rito escapes from a horde of people who want to kiss and hug him, but luckily the effect of Seline's pollen lasts a short time, and he manages to reach his house with all his clothes destroyed. The next day, Lala runs home early because she wants to watch the episode of her favorite series, Kyoko the Magical Girl, so Rito walks home alone. Then he runs into Riza, who is running away from a member who wanted to lure her out, and she pretends that Rito is her boyfriend. After that, Risa takes Rito to the cosplay cafe where Mayo works and tells him that she will pay for the meal as a thank you for saving her, but in return, she starts questioning him about how far he has come with Lala, and Rito blushes shyly. Later, Rito wants to go home, but Risa forces him to walk her to her house because it is too dark, although she takes him down a street that is full of hotels for couples, and Rito feels uncomfortable. When they finally arrive at Risa's house, Rito wants to leave, but she forces him to come in to show him the house. Inside, she tries to seduce him by telling him that he can use her as practice for when his relationship with Lala progresses. Rito blushes like a tomato and just wants to run away from the crazy girl, but Risa starts laughing and tells him that she was just playing. On the way home, Rito receives a message on his cell phone from Risa. She tells him that if he has the courage, he can visit her any night. When Rito gets home, he runs to his room asking Lala for forgiveness, although he doesn't know why since he did nothing. The next day at school, Rito asks Yu to lend him her book called Midnight Date, since his dad needs it as a reference for his manga, and the book is sold out in all bookstores. Yu accepts, and Rito gives her his phone number so she can let him know when he can stop by her house to pick up the book. At night, Yu finishes reading the book and sends a message to Rito, but he is so tired from mowing the grass all day, so he asks Momo to contact Yu. The problem is that Momo reads Yu's message and thinks that Midnight Date is a possible love affair between Yu and Rito, and answers her as if that were a secret. That Nana also takes Rito's phone and asks Yu what she thinks about the small, but forgets to clarify that she is the one writing. The messages make Yu angry, but the worst is not over yet since Seline takes Rito's cell phone and runs around the house until she reaches the bathroom and takes photos of Lala without and sends them to Yu. When Yu sees the photos, she blushes and gets angry. Meanwhile, Momo and Nana say that they will apologize to Yu tomorrow. The next day, Maiken receives her first confession of love from a boy, but she rejects him, and her friends can't believe it and say that she probably rejects boys because her brother is very handsome. At home, Maiken keeps noticing how clingy Momo is with Rito, so she takes her alone and scolds her, saying that she is interfering with Lala and Rito's relationship. Momo plays dumb and says that she didn't realize, but Maiken doesn't buy the lie and warns her that she will keep an eye on her because she knows that on some nights Momo sneaks into Rito's room, and Momo says that she can do it too. At midnight, Maiken can't sleep and decides to go sleep in Rito's bed to prevent Momo from sneaking in there. But when she lies down in bed, Rito starts dreaming about hugging a marshmallow and hugs Maiken, but she squeezes his cheek, and he lets her go immediately. The hours pass and Momo does not come in, so Maiken is ready to leave, but suddenly, she hears lightning and gets very scared. But a sleeping Rito hugs her, saying that her brother will always protect her. That calms Maiken's fear, since in the past she always slept in Rito's bed when there were storms. The next day, Rito is surprised to see Mikan in his bed, and Momo comes in to tease them by saying that she didn't know their relationship was like that. Later, Seline drinks coke without supervision, and Lala and Rito chase her throughout the neighborhood, until the baby girl runs into Yami and hugs her, but Seline soon expels her love pollen and Yami falls in love with Rito. So Yami asks Lala to borrow Rito's time. She accepts and takes Seline. Yami takes Rito to eat taiyakis and sees how other couples feed each other, and she tries to do the same with Rito, but she almost chokes him trying to feed him several taiyakis at once. After that, Yami puts on a cute pink dress and Rito compliments her, but Yami is still under the effect of her love pollen, so she asks him to kiss her. But Rito refuses and shakes her hard to make her return to normal, and it works. Then Yami asks why he didn't kiss her, and he says that it would have been wrong to kiss her when she's acting against her will. That moves Yami, and she says that when the time comes to eliminate him, she will do it gently. That night, Momo sneaks back in Rito's room, and when she leaves in the morning, Nana scolds her because Rito is Lala's, but Momo says that she loves Rito too. Nana does not understand what her sisters see in Rito and goes out for a walk, and by chance she sees Maroon, Haruna's dog, and saves him from being run over, but they both fall into a canal. Since Nana can talk to animals, she asks Maroon the characteristics of its owner to return it, and Maroon says that doesn't know how to describe her. Maroon loves her very much, but it bothers him that she always talks about the boy she likes, a certain Rito. That shocks Nana, and suddenly, Haruna appears and takes Maroon and Nana to her house to dry them off. While she waits for her clothes to dry, Nana asks Haruna if it's true that she likes Rito, and she blushes and says that it's a secret because she doesn't know if Rito feels the same way about her, but Nana says that maybe Rito is hiding his feelings towards her in consideration of Lala. After that, Nana leaves and Haruna is thoughtful and feels like a hypocrite for being Lala's friend and not telling her the truth about her feelings. While Nana is on her way home, it starts to rain, but fortunately, Rito is looking for her and gives her an umbrella. Nana is amazed by his kindness and realizes why so many girls like him. The next day, Haruna has made a decision. She meets Lala and tells her that she likes Rito. Lala is left speechless and asks Haruna for forgiveness for not having realized her feelings towards Rito. And although the situation is uncomfortable, Lala decides to support Haruna's love for Rito, but also supports her love for Rito. The next day, she and Haruna invite everyone to the public pool, and the girls look beautiful in their and Sarami tells Rito that he has changed a lot. A few years ago, he was unable to talk to girls wearing bikinis, and now he is around them without blushing and thinks that it is thanks to Lala, and Rito remains thoughtful. Later, Ron and Kyoko give a free summer concert at another of the public pools, but a monster in the water interrupts them and they flee. Meanwhile, Rito can't stop thinking about what Sarami told him. Thanks to Lala, he can talk without blushing with Haruna, but his feelings have begun to change. Suddenly, the aquatic monster appears in this pool and starts attacking all the girls, tearing their Then Oshizu tells them that a space patient of Miss Mikado's lost his aquatic pet, and this monster is that pet. The monster catches Haruna and Lala runs to save her, but the monster swallows her too, and Rito jumps towards the water monster, and for a moment he considers which girl to save first. But the doubt lasts only a few seconds. Both are equally important for him, so he saves them both at the same time. The problem is that now Rito has been trapped inside the water monster. If they don't get him out soon, he will drown, so Yami transforms her lower part into a mermaid and manages to cut the aquatic monster in two, and Rito falls to the bottom of the pool. Immediately, Lala and Haruna jump into the pool ready to save him, while Rito thinking about the two girls. When Rito wakes up, Miss Mikado is there with the owner of the aquatic pet, which is a small water slime that grew because it fell into the pools. Later, Rito takes Lala aside and confesses that he likes her. Before, his feelings towards her were uncertain, but now he is sure that he likes her. Lala is very happy, but Rito is not finished. He confesses that before her, he liked another girl. That makes Lala happier because she assumes that Rito also likes Haruna and tells him that he should go confess his feelings to Haruna quickly so that the three of them can marry. That shocks Rito, and he says that this is not legal in Japan, but Lala doesn't care about that, and Peak explains to Rito that when he and Lala get married, he will inherit Deviluke's throne and will be king of the universe. Therefore, Earth laws do not matter to him. That leaves Rito even more shocked since he didn't think Lala was so open-minded, and Lala can't wait any longer. So she puts a jet backpack on Rito so he can go quickly to talk to Haruna. Rito comes to where Haruna is and tells her that he wants to confess her something, but he is very shy, and while he closes his eyes to gain courage, Seline falls on Haruna and unbuttons her, and she leaves. Then Rito shouts loudly that he likes her. When he opens his eyes, Haruna is not in front of him, but Miss Mikado, Nana, Run, and Yue. Lala was listening to everything and says that the more girls Rito likes, the happier she will be because it means that they will all live together forever. Sometime later, Rito's life continues the same with a slight change. Momo seems more and more when it comes to sneaking into his bed at night. Later, when Rito and Lala arrive at school, Lala insists Rito confess his feelings for Haruna so the three of them can get married at once, but Rito still doesn't want to do it. At that moment, he appears carrying a pile of books and Rito helps her, but he falls on top of her when out of nowhere, Seline appears and falls on top of him. It turns out that the twins brought her because as of today, they are students at this school and Rito thinks about the problems that Momo will bring him. Since the night before while Rito was bathing, Momo sneaked into the bathroom without to tell him that when he marries Lala and is the king of Deviluke, he can have any concubines he wants and he should start building his own now. Later, Momo and Nana introduce themselves to their new classroom and Momo is immediately popular with the boys, while Nana is ignored, so she approaches a lonely girl named Mi and the two become friends. During the break, Momo escapes from her admirers because they are very immature. In any case, she only wants Rito and wants him to marry her sister soon, because when he is king of Deviluke, she wants to be one of his concubines. Afterwards, she goes to talk to Yami and tries to convince her to be another student, but Yami doesn't want to. Suddenly, a horde of humans turn zombies appear and chase Rito. Momo immediately summons space plants with thorns to grab all the zombies, but there are too many of them. Then, Yami starts attacking them but without hurting them because they are all innocent students, but they start telling her that she must return to normal and remind her that her target is Rito. All this is observed out of the corner of her eye by Mi and a crow from the roof. At night, Mi meets her master, a crow, and tells him that she made a friend and the crow reminds her of her mission, to return golden darkness to her old self. The next day at Rito's house, Momo tells him that the zombies kept telling Yami that he was her target, and she believes that someone is trying to return Yami to be golden darkness, and he feels a little scared about it. Especially because today, Yami will come home to take cooking classes from Mekan, since she wants to learn how to cook earthly food. Rito and Momo keep getting nervous every time they look at Yami and Mekan's suspects that the two are hiding something. At dinner time, Yami prepared a special dish for Rito made with teriyakis, and he forces himself to eat them because he doesn't want to give Yami excuses to eliminate him. After that, Rito makes an excuse that he has to buy milk at the convenience store and Momo goes with him. She assures him that she will protect him from Yami if necessary since she will not rest until he forms his own. He doesn't understand why she is so adamant about the idea and Momo says that the happiness of many girls depends on him, so the right thing to do is for him to take them all as concubines. Later, when they get home, Momo locks herself in the room with him because she wants to be his bodyguard and maybe something more. Rito gets nervous and she starts to kiss him on the neck, but he doesn't let himself be defeated and takes her off of him, ready to ignore her all night. This makes Momo angry because she believes he thinks she's a little girl and not an adult like Lala. Later, when Momo finally falls asleep, Rito goes down to drink some water and finds Yami. She wants to talk with him alone. Rito thinks that she's going to eliminate him, but quickly, Momo appears ready to defend him, but Yami says that they misunderstood her. She just wanted to ask Rito if her teriyaki soup tasted good, and he says that the soup was good, just a little salty. Days later, Yami enrolls in school and remembers her past as the Golden Darkness when suddenly she runs into Mi. She tells Yami that they are family because she was created with Yami's developed data and shows her that she can also transform parts of her body into and she is willing to help her to eliminate Rito. Later, Yami is left thinking about her supposed sister and thinks that she was created by some survivor of the dark organization that created her. Meanwhile, Mi asks Nana about Rito and she tells her all the things she doesn't like about him and Mi sneaks off to look for him. On the other hand, Momo goes to see Seline, who is taken care of by Miss Mikado, and the nurse tells Momo that she must take care of Yami, since she suffered a lot in the past being used as a... Meanwhile, Mi continues looking for Rito and finds him asleep on the roof and climbs on top of him. Rito wakes up and is in a bathtub with Mia, and the two are without... and he asks her how it is possible that he can dream about a girl he doesn't know, and she says that at this moment their hearts are connected, and he was dreaming about something that shocked him. Then, they see Rito's true dream. He was remembering about his meeting with Momo in the bathtub when she first told him that he should form one so big that even Yami could be in it. Suddenly, the dream ends because Yami went up to the roof and took Mi off of Rito and warns her that she won't let her Rito, but Mi says that she wouldn't take the target away from her sister. Mia leaves and thinks it's funny that two such opposite plans are going on. Her master wants Yami to be Golden Darkness again, while Momo wants Yami to be part of Rito's. After school, Rito comes home alone because Lala is somewhere else and asks Yu if she wants to walk with him. She blushes and accepts. From the sky, Momo sees them and happily thinks that Rito is starting his and wants to help him. First, she throws aphrodisiac pollen on the school teacher, who who chases them and makes them deviate from Yu's house to Rito's house. Then Momo chases them with a giant sunflower that shoots water, making them believe that it is raining. Finally, she encloses the house in a bubble that simulates rain. Then, while Yu takes a bath to remove her wet clothes, Rito goes to wash them and leaves her Lala's clothes, but Momo changes them for a not-too-long shirt. After that, Rito and Yu drink tea waiting for the rain to stop, but Momo is impatient for things between them to move forward, so she cuts off the power to the house and Rito and Yu are left in the dark. Yu gets scared and Rito falls on her and she can't stop thinking about all the embarrassing things they could do together, but she asks him that if they have something today, he should not be with other girls anymore. Rito doesn't know what she means and Momo is happy outside because she thinks her plan to get Rito is working. Suddenly, Lala and the girls arrive and notice that there is an invisible wall surrounding the house, but a lightning strikes the house and the invisible wall disappears. While inside, the light returns and Rito clarifies to Yu that he fell on top of her by accident, and Yu tells him that she was just joking and mentally kicks herself for letting it get carried away. At another place in the city, Mi talks to someone unknown and tells her that she just wanted to affect Momo's plans a little, and the unknown person tells her that they will soon have more visitors like them on Earth, and Mi wonders what Yami will do. Days later, a spaceship lands on Earth. Azenda the Tyrant has arrived and is greeted by Mi. The unknown voice tells me that once Azenda was defeated by Golden Darkness, and since that time Azenda swore revenge, she is someone needed to return Yami to her original self. And once that happens, Golden Darkness will eliminate Rito, although that disturbs me because Rito's elimination might make her friend Nana sad, but the unknown voice reminds me that she is just a and should not have feelings. The next day, Mikan wakes up and doesn't see Seline in her crib, so she goes to look for her in Rito's room, but hears some suspicious noises and thinks the worst about her brother and Momo, even though they were just playing video games with Seline. At school, the classic accidents happen to Rito with the girls, and this time Yami prefers not to see him and leaves. Later, Yami goes to Mikan's school because each time she feels lonely, she likes spending time with Mikan. They go for walks and eat taiyakis. Then Mikan gives a keychain with a small taiyaki as a gift to Yami, and also bought one for herself. All this is seen by Azenda. At night, the friends say goodbye and Yami meets Rito. He thanks her for spending time with Mikan before her sister felt alone, but now Mikan sees Yami as an older sister. Yami stops and says that she feels happy when she's with Mikan and thinks that that is not right because she has her hands stained with all the targets she eliminated in the past. Then Rito says that she shouldn't think about that because the Yami who is on Earth is the one that counts and she has behaved well until now, and that calms Yami's heart. Suddenly, they are attacked by Azenda's whip. She says that she wants revenge and will use whatever she can to defeat Golden Darkness, and that is Mikan. She is being controlled by Azenda, and Yami tries not to attack her of fear of hurting Mikan's fragile human body, so she tries to attack Azenda, but she uses Mikan as her shield. Then Azenda takes the opportunity to fiercely attack Yami, as she tried to grab the taiyaki keychain, and Azenda laughs at Golden Darkness's weakness. The fight continues and Yami does nothing to defend herself from Mikan and Azenda's attacks. All this is observed by Mi from a distance. She wants Yami to defend herself, but she seems defeated. Azenda glories in the fall of Golden Darkness and says that she will destroy everyone Yami bonded over. Rito yells at Yami to react, but that only angers Azenda, and she says that he will be the first to be eliminated. Suddenly, a black rose stops Azenda by cutting her cheek. Momo has come to the rescue. She introduces herself, and Azenda is surprised to see one of the daughters of the great king of Deviluke. They start fighting, and Azenda is very confident that she can win, but suddenly she feels weak. Momo tells her that the rose had a special poison that will not kill her, but it will paralyze her for hours, long enough to hand her over to Zastin, and he will hand her over to the Galactic Police. Afterwards, Mikan wakes up and is surprised by everything that happened, and Yami tells her that she is happy that she's okay, but now she has understood something. She should rely on her friends. All this is seen by Mi, who feels a pain in her when she sees her sister acting so affectionately with another girl who is not her. The next day, Mi is a little taciturn since she asked Yami earlier why she let herself be attacked like that by Azenda to defend Mikan, and she only told her that if she wants to be part of her family, she should get used to humans and their feelings. Then Mi asks Nana how to reconcile with her sister. Nana still doesn't know that Mi considers Yami her sister, so she tells her that sisters fight and make up all the time and she shouldn't worry. But that makes Mi angry because Nana and Momo always live together and can reconcile quickly. After that, Nana goes to talk to Rito and asks him how she can cheer up her friend Mi, and he is worried about that friendship because last night, Yami told them that the person behind the attacks is Mi along with someone else. Even so, Yami asked them to give Mi a chance because she was once like her. Then Rito tells Nana that to cheer someone up, she must do something to make that person laugh, so Nana comes up with the idea of taking Mii to meet Haruna's dog. When Mii and Nana arrive at the place where Haruna and Maroon are waiting, Nana orders the dog to play with Mii, and he does so, making Mii laugh. Then Nana summons more small animals that she collected from her travels through space, and Maroon feels jealous, so he starts Mii's entire body, and now the animals feel their pride hurt by an earthly dog, and they start bodies of the rest. From laughing so much, Nana drops her dial and she accidentally summons sea monsters like a squid and a giant octopus. Then Nana runs to grab her dial to make all the monsters disappear, but a little monkey grabs it and runs with it to the street. Nana finally catches it, but a truck approaches her and is about to hit her, but Mii suddenly appears to save her, but if she does, Nana will find out her true identity and will stop being her friend. Fortunately, Lala and Yami appear and stop the truck before anything happens. So Mii finally feels that warm feeling that Yami told her about, but Momo is worried because she feels like they are being watched by Mii's master, and she won't stay still in the face of this situation. And she is right, a crow spies on them to pass information to Mii's master. She now knows that Yami is trying to change Mii. The next day, everyone has a little peace, except Rito, since Mii wanted to know who the idol Run was, and the girls explained to her that she is an alien who continually transforms into a boy or girl every time the body sneezes. That seems impossible to Mii, but Lala shows her an invention capable of transforming Rito into a girl. Rito complains because she transformed him without warning, and now Sarayama saw her and she has to run to escape from him. In the afternoon, Rito is forced to wear a maid outfit to show Mii the good things about humans, and when Mikan comes home and sees a new girl near her brother, she complains because there is another weirdo in the house. After a long day, Rito goes to take off her maid outfit and can't help but see her feminine body without in the mirror since she still isn't used to it. This is seen by Momo, who congratulates Rito for finally becoming interested in female. Momo tells Rito that if he wants, she can show him her female body whenever he wants, but Rito says that she is misunderstanding him. Then Momo asks her what he thinks about Mia, since she seems very interested in being his friend, but Rito can't think because Momo won't stop her feminine body. Suddenly, Mii enters through the window and says that she already knows that they know her true identity, but she would also like to see the real Momo, since at school, she behaves shy and cautious, when in reality, it seems that she likes to be attached to Rito without. That makes Momo blush, and Rito realizes that she is the girl who appeared in his dream once, and Mii says that she wants to be their friend, even if that interferes with her master's plans. Momo doesn't believe a single word, but she decides to accept her friendship to observe her closely, and as a sign of friendship, she shows her how Rito likes to be. Suddenly, Rito turns into a boy again, and that's how Mikan find them. She gets so angry at seeing two girls playing with her brother's body without that she orders Rito to put clothes on right now. All this is heard by Run from outside. She came to talk to Rito, but she thinks it is not a good time, but Momo tells her that she will arrange everything so that the two of them can meet. In the afternoon, Run is happy about her date with Rito, and they are watched by Momo since she is sure that Run will take Rito to the next level, and he will start to seriously think about his. In addition to Momo, Mii, Nana, and Yami also watch them. Meanwhile, Run and Rito go to a cafe and she tells him that her manager forbade her from having a boyfriend, and she's worried about that. But he worries more about her health, because she looks ill right now. Suddenly, Saki enters and begins to tease them, and Rito falls on Aya, so before making a fuss, Rito and Run flee the place. Then Run tells him that she likes the sunsets on planet Earth because on her planet there are two suns that overlap and they live in darkness, that's why they have two personalities. Although they only need to change once a month. But when Ren arrived on Earth, his body was affected by the planet's climate, and now every time he sneezes, they change places, so the two consciousnesses agree based on rules so as not to bother the other. Rito thanks her for telling him more about her life since he never cared to ask her. Unfortunately, this nice moment is interrupted when Run sneezes and transforms into Ren. But they are already used to these accidents, so he sprinkles pepper to sneeze and Ren transforms into Run again. Later, on the way home, Run confesses to Rito that she thought she was Lala's rival, but as long as she continues to share a body with Ren, she will always be less that Lala. She became an idol to fill a void in her heart, but it's not enough because what she really wants is love, since she loves Rito, and when she tells him she. Run is very weak, and Rito carries her to a bench, and the girls follow him and think that they are doing something. But when they get closer, they see that Run is breathing heavily and her body begins to glow. Run is very scared, and suddenly, her body separates in two and Ren appears. Then Yami says that Ren's galactic species has two consciousnesses that are separated when they reach adulthood, and that is why Run and Ren are now two different and autonomous entities. Run is very happy because she now feels that she can capture Rito's love. The next day, Lala tells Nana that she built an invention that will make her grow, and for a second, Nana feels the glory of having big. But that doesn't last long because Lala's invention only steals someone else's big, in this case Momo. Then the invention starts to malfunction, and the sisters exchange the size of their for a while. After that, Momo goes to see Miss Mikado, who is taking care of Seline, and asks her if she's found out anything about Mia. She says that it is very difficult to get information, since the organization that Yami belonged to was destroyed years ago. Later, Mia invites everyone to her house, and they are surprised to see such a big apartment all to herself, and Momo wonders if she feels lonely in that place, but Mia's cheerful attitude disconcerts her. The next day, Momo tells Miss Mikado that she feels that Mia is acting happily to mislead them and does not trust her, since she feels that her heart is kept behind a wall, which they cannot pass through. Then Yami interrupts them, saying that Mia's heart is like that because they were both born to be, and Rito agrees with her, but in a different way for him. Yami knows how Mia feels because the two are sisters. Later, Lala tells Rito that she's going to fix one of her inventions and flies away, so Rito goes home alone, but he runs into Ren. He gives him a demo CD of Run, and takes the opportunity to ask him how he feels about Lala. He warns Rito that Lala's heart is gentle and he has no right to make her cry, just as he did with Run, and Rito feels that Ren is right since he wanted to confess his feelings to Haruna. And although Lala supports him, maybe what Momo tells him is true, the best thing would be to create a to make everyone happy. Later at home, Rito goes to talk to Lala and finds her busy with her inventions, and he gets curious about Lala's life and asks her why she started building things. She says that when she was a little girl, she only studied and got bored, so to have fun she started creating inventions, and she tells him that sometimes she pretended that her inventions didn't work to prevent the twins from fighting or to get them out of trouble. That makes Rito smile, and he reminds what Ren told him: Lala has a gentle and kind heart, and that makes him blush and his heart races when he looks at her. Then Lala notices that he is red, but when she stands, she trips on a special rope made to tie things, so Lala is trapped, and when Rito wants to save her, the two are tied together. All this is seen by Momo and Nana, who then go up to the roof and say that they never realized that Lala did those things for them, and the two smile because it is good to have an older sister like Lala. Days later, Mekan leaves school and goes shopping even though it is very hot day, and she can't stop thinking about the strange relationship between her brother and Momo since today she saw her again in a compromising situation with him. As she buys things, she realizes that Rito doesn't need things because Momo already bought him several things these days, and now she remembers that Momo started practicing how to cook to make Rito's favorite dishes. All of that makes her think that she is no longer necessary in her brother's life, and that makes her dizzy and almost. This is seen by Momo, who runs to help her, but Rin, one of Saki's minions, arrives first and saves her, and takes her to her house. Meanwhile, Yu also goes out for a walk to stop thinking about Rito and meets Haruna, and the two decide to go to the cosplay cafe where Maya works. There they meet Risa, and she tells them that she had her first date here with Rito, although in reality it was not a date, and also she tells them that later they went to her house while her parents were away. On the other hand, Rin makes Mikan bathe with cold water to cool down and gives her cold juice to drink, and Rin comments that she seems more focused than her brother, since he's always in compromising situations with the girls in the school. Meanwhile, Risa continues to brag about her meeting with Rito and exaggerates by saying that they together and Rito is very experienced, but Yu stops her and says that she knows she's lying because Rito is not like other men, and Haruna agrees with her. Returning to Rin and Mikan, the teenager says that she feels displaced by Momo, even though her help makes her life easier, since thanks to Momo taking care of various household chores, she has more time for herself. Then Rin thinks that maybe Mikan has feelings for her brother, but she explains that that is not the case. She was always Rito's #1 priority. One time, he took her to the public pool, and she gets lost for a moment, and when Rito found her, his shirt was wet with sweat because he ran everywhere looking for her. So now she feels a little sad for not being his priority, and Rin says that the bond between them will never change because it is a different love, and Mikan cheers up. After that, Rin accompanies Mikan to her house, but halfway, Momo takes her place and tells Mikan that she has been trying to have memories with Rito because she feels jealous of her, since once Rito told her that Mikan is someone precious to him. At that moment, Rito arrives with his shirt wet with sweat from running as fast as he could. It turns out that Momo told him that Mikan was feeling bad, and he wanted to get to Mikan quickly to take her home to rest. And Mikan realizes that Rin was right. The next day, before going to school, Miss Mikado helps Oshizu take a bath and tells her that thanks to her, she was able to research more about spirits and its possession to other bodies. Later at school, Rito looks for Rin to thank her for taking care of Mikan yesterday, and Rin, as serious as she is, accepts his gratitude. Momo then asks Rito what he thinks of Rin, since she thinks she would be a good addition to his. But they can't continue talking because Rito sees Seline with one of Lala's magnets and runs to take it from her. But Yami was also there, and the two of them are stuck by their hands. Yami doesn't like it at all, and she prefers to cut off her hand, but Momo says that the effect will be short-lived, and she agrees to spend time with Rito. After that, Yami goes to buy Taiyakis with Rito attached to her hand. He blushes because he feels that people think they are a couple, but Saki doesn't care and buys her snacks. Later, they go to Rito's house because they are still stuck together, and Mekan teaches Saki how to cook, although she has to use her hair as another limb because Rito is still stuck to her right hand. Eating well is difficult for Rito, and the worst thing is when Yami wants to go to the bathroom, she covers his eyes with her hair to have privacy, but there's something else that Yami wants to do. She wants to take a bath and she doesn't know how to do it. Then Nana offers to help her bathe and they cover Rito's eyes with a blindfold. Nana starts carving Yami's back, but Rito doesn't stay still and accidentally grabs Nana's tail and then falls on Yami. She gets angry and hits him. But that takes off Rito's blindfold and Nana falls on him and beats him so hard that he is purple now. After that, Mekan and Lala prepare a futon for Rito and Yami, since they will have to spend the night together, and that scares Rito, because he's afraid of her. Yami says that she doesn't usually sleep because she never knows when an enemy from the past will come to take revenge and end her life in an instant. Then Rito asks her for forgiveness because he always gives her hopeful advice, and now he realizes that her life was very hard, and that makes Yami feel like crying, but she pulls herself together and she begins to tell him about her past. Meanwhile, Oshizu follows Mi and decides to possess her body to see inside her heart, and the first thing she sees are many sweets, and then she sees Rito, but everything is a facade. Deeper inside her heart is the real Mia. Oshizu sees a memory from the past. Mia is totally brutal when it comes to getting information, but she also sees that she is loyal to her master. And when Oshizu tries to find out who she is, Mi discovers her and tells her that they both have similar powers, and suddenly Oshizu's spirit begins to be swallowed by darkness. Then Oshizu returns to her body and Mi says that she is lucky. If she stayed one more second in her heart, she would have disappeared forever, and Oshizu trembles in fear at Mi's lifeless gaze. Meanwhile, at Rito's house, Yami tells him about Tirju, a genius scientist who worked for the Dark Organization, from whom they took her cells to create Yami. So in a sense, Yami is Tirju's little sister. Yami was a very cheerful girl when she was a child, and although Tirju was a little clumsy, she loved her very much until one day, Tirju disappeared and the organization began training Yami to turn her into a... As the galactic war lasted for years, Yami lost all traces of humanity that had been instilled in her by Tirju, until King Deviluke ended the war and she was freed, although she continued that line of work. Rito feels very bad for her and she leans on him a little, trying to feel his warmth, and she realizes that what she wants is a hug. Suddenly, Rito and Yami's hands separate, but she still leans on him a little because she can't stop remembering Tirju. The next day, Rito wakes up alone and Mekan and Momo seem to have not slept since they were awake all night, making sure nothing happens between Yami and Rito. Later at school, a new teacher shows up in Rito's classroom. She is Tirju Lunatique and everyone notices that she looks a lot like Yami. So, Momo goes to look for Yami and tells her about the new teacher, but for some strange reason, Yami refuses to go see her. What she doesn't know is that Tirju is already spying on her secretly. On the other hand, Rito goes to talk to Miss Mikado, and she tells him that she brought Tirju since the two of them studied together many years ago. It turns out that they are friends and Miss Mikado was looking for her for a long time. Until she found her recently and told her about Yami living on Earth, Tirju felt guilty about how Yami had become the... But when she found out that she was now living a normal life, she decided to come to Earth. And although Miss Mikado wants to reunite them, the two have not seen each other yet, but Rito is going to put an end to this nonsense. Rito runs to see Professor Tirju and tells her that Yami still loves her even though she abandoned her. But suddenly, the school principal appears and starts chasing Tirju because he loves beautiful women. So Rito takes her hand and runs away with her and asks Lala for help to escape. But Lala uses her classic teleportation invention and teleports them outside, but without... All this is seen by Yami, who hits Rito with her fisted hair, and Tirju is left speechless when she sees her after many years and calls her by her real name, Eve. Tirju tells Yami that the night she escaped from the Dark Organization, she tried to take her but was stopped and almost eliminated, and she was barely able to survive in exile. Sometime later, she found out that she was now golden darkness and she felt guilty for not being able to get her out of there. Yami remains silent and tells her that the only thing that matters about all this is that she is alive and leaves, leaving a tearful Tirju. All this is seen by Miss Mikado and Rito, and she says that they have to give them both time. On the other hand, the one who was also seeing this is Mia. She is livid because her master told her about Tirju, the woman who tried from the beginning to deny that golden darkness was a... Later, Nana notices that Mie is acting strange and more serious than normal and thinks it has to do with the arrival of the new teacher. So she goes to see her, and even though Tirju hasn't seen Mie yet, she tells Nana that she has to be good friends with Mie. Then Nana comes up with the idea of furnishing Mie's apartment with the help of Lala, Haruna, and money from her father. When Mie arrives at her house, she is surprised to see that her apartment is no longer cold and empty, but now feels like a home thanks to Nana. The next day, Rito and Momo meet with Tirju and ask her if she knows who Mie's master is, but Tirju still has not been able to find out, since all the information on the secret organization was destroyed. Then Momo gives some seeds to Tirju. When she is in danger, she must throw those seeds on the ground and giant plants will grow and will stop her enemies for a while and warn Momo of what is happening. Tirju thanks her for caring, but Momo tells her that it was Yami's request. In the afternoon, while Tirju is alone in the classroom, Mie comes in through the window and tells her that she wants to talk. Suddenly, Oshizu enters and attacks Mie because she thinks she wants to harm Tirju and she is a friend of Miss Mikado. The attack awakens Mie's murderous instincts and she puts on her outfit and is ready to fight. But Tirju trips and her seeds fall out of her pocket, alerting Momo and Rito that something is wrong. When they arrive at school, they see that the giant plants have trapped Oshizu and Tirju. Then Mie says that she did not start the attack and tells them that her master is Nemesis, and that catches Tirju's attention, since when she worked in the Dark Organization, there was a program to create a called Project Nemesis, but the project failed and was cancelled. But Mie tells them that when the laboratories were destroyed, she was born in the middle of the rubble and knew nothing of the world, and only Nemesis was there for her and taught her how to become a... Together, they search for golden darkness and are trying to get her to return to her original self, and Tirju is in the middle of it, but the teacher tells her that if Mie considers Yami her sister, they can be sisters too. This angers Mie and she says that she will never behave like a human, but Tirju makes her see that she already lies and coexists like humans. She even has friends, and Rito says that Nana would be very sad if she left, while Momo says that she still can change her heart just like Yami did. Then Mie tells Rito that she will change her heart if he licks her body completely. It makes him red as a tomato, and Momo and Tirju urge Rito to do it, but he refuses, and Mie tells him that she knew he wouldn't do it because it's hard to change someone's heart, and she leaves. Momo agrees that it is difficult to change a heart, but at least Mie recognizes that she has a heart. Days later, Momo can't stop imagining scenarios where she and Rito advance to the next level in their relationship, even though they have no relationship at all. Meanwhile, at school, the boys of the school inform Momo that they have created a fan club in her honor, the Venus Momo Club. They will pamper her and do all the chores she tells them to, but for Momo, they are a nuisance because she found out that Rito was going shopping after school and she couldn't get rid of her fans in time. Meanwhile, Rito and Lala go shopping for Rito's dad, and she says they haven't spent much time lately, so she's happy for the little outing. At night, Momo decides to prepare Rito's favorite dish, but Mekan informs her that Lala and Rito decided to stay the night in her father's studio, since the mangaka had a lot of work accumulated. The days go by, and Momo is still surrounded and protected by her fan club. Then Rito once again suffers all the daily accidents with the girls that he used to have, since Momo is not there to interfere. Days later, Momo feels very sad because Rito no longer spends time with her, so she decides to sneak out of her fan club. But the boys are also alert because the morality committee has highlighted Rito as a... and they don't want him around the innocent Momo. So after PE classes, Momo sends Rito a message telling him that she wants to talk to him about Mie and he's going to meet her at the storage gym. When he arrives, Momo throws him on a mat and starts kissing him on the... She has seduced him many times while he sleeps, but now that he is awake, it is much more difficult, so Rito immediately gets her off of him. Momo thinks that Rito liked her seduction, but he doesn't respond because the boys from Momo's fan club appear and are ready to punish Rito. But Momo gets irritated with the interruption and forces them to ask for forgiveness since Rito is a gentleman who didn't even want to touch her. On the way home, Rito wonders why Momo is so obsessed with the topic of the... since it doesn't even cross his mind that she is in love with him. What Rito doesn't know is that the idea of the started when he expressed his feelings to Lala. It turns out that Lala told Momo about how happy he was about Rito declaring his love for her. But that confused Momo because she believed that Rito loved Haruna. That Lala says that it didn't matter, the three of them could be happy because when Rito is king of Deviluke, he could have concubines. That left Momo very thoughtful since she's had feelings for Rito for a long time, and if he ever has concubines, she wants to be one, and from that moment on, Momo began to draw up her plan to change Rito's earthly ideas and make him accept that having a is okay. The next day, Seline drinks coke without permission and gets throwing her pollen around the house, and unfortunately, Mekan inhales it. Rito is scared by the possibility that his sister will fall in love with him, but she assures him that she is fine, but that is not true. She soon begins to feel the effects of Seline, although she holds back, but Momo realizes the situation and plans to have some fun since for her, Mikan would be a good addition to Rito's. So she spends the whole day trying to get Mikan and Rito together, until she gets Mikan to almost fall into temptation. She climbs on top of Rito and is about to kiss him, but she recovers easily and punches him, and luckily the Seline effects pass. Meanwhile, Lala and Haruna are having a good time together, and suddenly, they see Oshizu being chased by a dog and Lala runs to help her, but she drops one of her inventions and Haruna catches it, and something funny happens. Haruna turns into a cat. Haruna wanders the streets looking for Lala but finds Yui, who loves cats, and when Haruna tries to explain to her what happened, only meows come out of her mouth and Yui runs away thinking that the cat doesn't like her. Then Haruna decides to go to Rito's house looking for Lala, but when Rito sees a cute kitten enter the house, he grabs her and starts petting, and Haruna blushes because she can feel everything. Since Rito thinks Haruna is a stray kitten, he bathes her carefully and thoroughly, but Haruna feels uncomfortable because she can feel Rito's hands where he shouldn't. Suddenly, the effect of the transformation wears off and Haruna appears with a lot of soap, and Rito doesn't know what happened. Meanwhile, at the cafeteria, Lala finds Haruna's clothes and wonders where her friend went. On the weekend, while everyone is enjoying the day outside, you can't stop thinking about the time she tried to save a kitten trapped in a tree several years ago. The problem is that she doesn't remember how it all ended. She goes to the place where she remembers it and runs into Rito. He tells her that his dad drawing studio is close and he is helping him. Suddenly, Run's skunk appears, and it starts turning everyone into children, and the clothes are too big for them, so Yu falls and Rito accidentally sees her entire. Rito swears that he didn't see anything, and luckily, Peak was passing by and Rito asks him to shrink their clothes so they can go look for the skunk. As they run around looking for the skunk, Yu thinks about Rito and believes him when he says that he didn't see anything forbidden because that time he could have taken advantage of her, but Yu was a gentleman. After running for a while, they find the skunk perched on top of a wall, and Rito climbs up it to reach it and tells Yu that he is used to climbing, and that unlocks Yu's memory. It turns out that years ago, when she couldn't rescue the kitten from the tree, she went to ask some children for help, but they ignored her, and when she returned to the tree, Rito was up there rescuing the kitten. Returning to the present, Rito returns the skunk to Run, and she says that she doesn't have much time to take her pet for a walk, so Mana offers to put it in her space forest where all the animals she has raised live, and Run accepts happily. The next day in class, Yu thanks Rito for not changing since he was a child, although Rito doesn't know what she means. In the afternoon, while Rito is doing his schoolwork, Nana goes to his room and asks him if he likes small, and he doesn't know what to answer, and it bothers her, so Rito tells her that she shouldn't worry about the measurement of her. Then Nana does something unimaginable. She her shirt and asks Rito to touch her, and you can't believe that the childish Nana does these things, but suddenly, Momo comes out of the closet and stops all this nonsense. It turns out that the twins had changed bodies using one of Lala's inventions, since Momo wanted to know if Rito liked girls with small, and that's why she used Nana's body as an experiment. And finally, Rito understands why Nana acted seductively when she is not like that. The next day, before going to school, Rito helps Seline water her favorite flowers, and she shows him some beautiful violet flowers from Momo. But unfortunately for Rito, whoever smells those flowers will have his personality completely changed. Rito runs inside the house and asks Lala to lend him her mechanic's glasses, and she gives them to him. Rito can now see the bodies of others without and asks Lala to pose for him, although she feels a little uncomfortable. After that, he runs to school delighting in all the female he sees. He is totally out of control, so Momo has to intervene. She corners him and makes him smell the antidote flowers and tells him that he is a good boy with a gentle heart and respectful of women. Although she wants him to change his earthly ideals and agree to have it is something that has to happen slowly. Days later, Momo finds Rito and Haruna classifying Lala's inventions. She wants to keep them safe so that they don't cause more problems, but by accident, they take a staff that causes them to swap bodies. According to Momo, the body swap will last hours, and she suggests they ask Lala for help. But when she comes, she does not notice the body swap and happily thinks that for the first time her inventions did not cause problems, and Rito doesn't have the heart to tell her the truth. Then Rito and Haruna spend the day being embarrassed because they are not used to each other's bodies, and the worst happens when they both want to go to the bathroom. Haruna is in Rito's body and does not have the courage to enter the men's bathroom. While Rito is in Haruna's body and refuses to see her body, so he asks Momo for help, and while Rito covers his eyes, the two enter the bathroom and Momo takes care of everything. On the other hand, Haruna can't take it anymore and goes into the bathroom. When she comes out, She internally apologizes to Rito for taking his body. Later, Momo informs them that they only have 2 hours left until everything is over, and they decide to go to Haruna's house to wait for the body swap. But there, Haruna's sister left the kitchen dirty and Haruna and Rito's body starts cleaning. After that, Maru notices that its owner's smell is different, but it is distracted by Momo's tail and runs to play with her, pushing Rito over a mayonnaise jar. Haruna's body is completely full of mayonnaise and Momo says that there is still time for her to bathe, but Rito doesn't want to see Haruna's body, so he closes his eyes and Haruna inside Rito's body bathes her. Unfortunately, Momo misread the timer on the body swapping staff and Rito and Haruna switch bodies in the shower. Haruna feels so embarrassed that she punches Rito. The next day, Lala brings an invention to school and leaves it in the infirmary, but as Seline spends time there, she grabs it and starts playing with it, and accidentally throws a small device at Terju and no one notices. During the day, Terju feels hands in her body and does not understand what is happening, while Seline does not stop playing with the device's screen. Terju can barely teach the class because the touches are getting more and more. So when she finishes, she tries to go to the infirmary with the help of Rito, although the two of them fall down the stairs because Seline keeps playing with the screen. Rito and Terju fall into a very compromising, and this is seen by Yami, who will not forgive Rito for doing things to Terju, so she chases him with a bunch of blades. After that, Terju finally arrives at the infirmary and Lala explains what happened. It turns out that she created an item for her old teacher. He suffers from back pain, and with this invention he can get massages just by touching the screen. That's why Terju was Seline's hands all day. Days later, Ron has to film a new episode as a villain in the top series of the moment, Magical Girl Kyoko. She still wants to win over Rito, so she plans to give it her all in her scenes, but she exaggerates her battle moves and suffers a wardrobe malfunction and Kyoko has to save her using her fire powers. Suddenly, the school principal infiltrates the recordings and Kyoko and Ron fight together to defeat him, and the director of the series decides to change the script because viewers love when a protagonist and a villain come together to fight together. Sometime later, Lala, Seline, Rito, and Momo meet to watch the new episode of Lala's favorite series. She loved the union of Ron and Kyoko, while Momo and Rito can't believe that their school principal is in the series. The next day, Kyoko goes to Rito's school to give a talk about showbiz, but in reality, she is there to find out more about Run's Prince Charming. So she makes Rito give her a tour of the school, but she is immediately chased by the school principal and then by a horde of male fans who want an autograph, so Rito picks her up and runs away from them. This is seen by Momo and Lala, and although Momo just laughs at the situation, Lala uses one of her inventions, the teleporter, and she claims that it works better this time. Unfortunately, this is not true as Rito teleports without and Kyoko is left with only her and Tai. When they both open their eyes, they are both inside a very narrow closet and their limbs are tangled. There is no room to move, so they both can't stop blushing when Rito has to put his leg between Kyoko's legs to avoid falling. Suddenly, they hear noises and are afraid that they will be discovered. If people see Kyoko in that state, it will be a national scandal, but luckily, Momo throws pink smoke to help them escape. The next day, Ron asks Kyoko what she found out about Rito and she is evasive because now she has feelings for Rito. In the afternoon, Mia goes to Rito's house to spend time with Nana and her space animals, and she's very interested in an octopus with a shell and shows it to Yami, but she remains still without revealing that she is disgusted by that animal. Then Rito and Momo arrive with ice pops for everyone, and the octopus jumps to eat one too and goes crazy. According to Nana, they can't consume sugar because it eats them. And the octopus grabs everyone with its slippery tentacles, and Nana returns it to its habitat before everything gets out of control. Then Yami tells them that she doesn't like slippery things because she once got lost on an octopus planet and prefers to erase that memory from her mind. Unfortunately, her weakness was heard by Azenda, who has escaped from the galactic police and wants to take revenge on Yami again by using her oily whip, but Yami defeats her with a single punch. The next day, Maiken's friends decide to go visit Maiken without telling her since they want to meet the brother she always complains about. When Maiken opens the door, she is shocked because she always avoided inviting them to her house for fear that Rito and Lala would give one of their daring shows, and even though Rito says that they are accidents, they still make it unsuitable for the general public. Rito is delighted to meet Maiken's friends, but she is nervous and tries to prevent Rito from falling on any of them. Then Lala and her sisters arrive, and Maiken's friends are fascinated to learn that they are alien princesses. When they finally leave, Maiken celebrates because it was an uneventful visit, but when she wants to scold Rito, she slips and falls on him. Meanwhile, one of Maiken's friends comes back into the house because she forgot something and sees them like that, and she leaves thinking that they are very close siblings. At night, Rito wants to call Yui to thank her for the gift she gave Seline, a children's drawing book, but Lala accidentally breaks his phone and suggests fixing it herself. When the phone is fixed, Rito calls Yui and sincerely thanks her on behalf of Seline, but something strange happens with the call. Yui feels an inexplicable pleasure when hearing his voice and can't even talk to him. When Rito hangs up the call, he says that there is something strange with his phone and calls Momo to find out what is wrong, and the same thing happens to Momo. Then Lala and Peak check the phone back, and Peak says that Lala increased the clarity of the sound so much that humans feel an unmatched pleasure when hearing the voice of the person making the call, in this case Rito. Later, Seline goes to take a bath and then sleep in her crib in Maiken's room, while Rito waters the flowers in the moonlight. Suddenly, the moon becomes very bright and a girl without appears on the roof, scaring Rito. And it turns out that this girl is Seline. She doesn't understand how she grew up so fast, and Momo says that the species of plant that Seline comes from is very rare, and not much is known about them. But she assumes that it has to do with the lunar cycle of this planet. After that, Maiken gets tearful, while she puts away Celine's baby clothes, and Rito comforts her by saying that Seline is still Seline, even though she's grown up. Then Seline enters Maiken's room and asks them to sleep with both of them, and they allow her. In the morning, Seline is a baby again. The next day, Rito goes to Run's house because she wants to ask him a favor, and it is an unexpected one. She wants him to take photos of her for a photo shoot because she only feels comfortable with him. Rito refuses because he doesn't know how to take photos, but Run gives him a special camera that is synchronized with a device placed on his head. This camera makes anyone become a professional photographer. But as soon as Rito puts the device on his head, he becomes a photographer and makes Run pose. At first, she finds it funny, but after many photos, the device increases its control over Rito, and he begins to take increasingly photos of Run. Suddenly, the device on Rito's head from overstimulation, and Rito returns to normal. Meanwhile, Momo is at the department store buying new and runs into Risa, who invites her out for a drink to get to know Lala's younger sister better. Risa first asks her if she has a boyfriend, and Momo comically says that she doesn't and she is too young to be interested in boys. Then Risa tells her that she is interested in Rito, and that shocks Momo. Suddenly, the school principal runs by chasing Kyoko and accidentally spills Momo's drink on her, and Risa invites her to her house to wash her clothes. But while Momo is bathing, Risa comes in and starts bathing her too, which makes Momo very nervous, and when Risa starts her, Momo runs away thinking that Risa likes girls. At home, Momo reflects and realizes that Risa was messing with her, and she thinks Risa is a tough competitor. The next day, Haruna meets Rito at the bookstore, and he says that he wants to buy a cookbook to learn how to cook an omelette rice for Maiken, so Haruna shyly tells him that she can teach him. They go to her house, and Haruna wants to teach him how to make the best omelette rice and thus show him that she's a better pick than Lala. They spend some time practicing while Seline plays with Maroon, but the little girl starts painting the dog's face with a marker, and he runs away followed by her. The two run so fast that they fall on top of Haruna, who was telling Rito that he was her inspiration to learn to cook, and she wanted to tell him that she will always cook for him. At night, Rito cooks an omelette rice for Maiken, and it looks horrible since he couldn't concentrate while he cooked it because he remembered how he fell on Haruna and saw what he shouldn't see. Fortunately for him, Maiken liked the omelette rice. Months later, Momo continues sneaking into Rito's room to convince him to create his although he still doesn't think it's a good idea. In the morning, as always, he has his accidents with Lala that no longer even surprise Maiken. At school, he also falls on Yami again, and this time he gets scared because she warns him that she can still eliminate him and punches him. When Yami leaves, Momo tells him that he shouldn't worry about Yami because she doesn't use all of her strength, and perhaps she could be part of his if he wanted. At that moment, Haruna arrives and cleans Rito's wound, saying that he is a little clumsy because he's always falling. This is seen by Lala, who then tells Haruna that she should confess her feelings to Rito. In the afternoon, Haruna can't stop thinking about Lala's advice, but she doesn't want to do it. At that moment, she meets Momo and Nana, who gives her a hydrating herbal tea since the two were doing sports at their clubs. Momo asks Haruna why she hasn't made a move with Rito, and she says that if she confesses her feelings to Rito, knowing that Lala loves him too, it will become a competition. Then Momo says that it is not a problem because when Rito becomes the king of Deviluke, he will be able to marry several girls at the same time. This makes Haruna realize why Lala is happy with sharing Rito, since it is something very common in space, but she feels that her mind is closed because she wants Rito for herself. Suddenly, Haruna's face turns red and she starts babbling about girls, and Rito comes and realizes that Haruna is since the drink Nana gave her had Deviluke herbs in it, and that makes humans. Then Momo takes advantage of this situation and asks Rito to take Haruna to her house, since she knows that the girl will be more uninhibited and perhaps she will convince Rito to form a Later, Rito arrives at Haruna's house, and she begins to take off her clothes without caring if he looks at her. So he runs to bring her a glass of cold water to help her get over her. But he trips and falls on Haruna. She begins to question him about asks him if he would be able to make all the girls he is with happy, and he has no answers for that. And finally, she says that anyone who loves another wants them for themselves, and that leaves Rito speechless. Suddenly, Haruna stops talking and she loses her immediately, and she's ashamed of everything that happened. After that, Rito goes home and Momo, who was waiting for him, asks him how it went with Haruna, and he says that the idea of the is impossible because Haruna is not interested in sharing the person she loves, but Momo says that a girl's heart is complicated and can change. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Mii feels sad and alone because her master nemesis hasn't shown up in 2 weeks. The next day at school, Terju asks Rito for help to prepare her science class and also asks him to introduce her to Mekin, since she is Yami's friend and she wants to get closer to her in any way possible. After that, Rito goes to have a soda and runs into Lala, who is running to tell Nana something and drops an invention from her pocket, and Rito grabs it. Meanwhile, Nana invites Mii to go to a new cafe that has discount cakes, but she is very downcast and prefers not to go. Back to Rito, he is now a mouse thanks to Lala's invention, and he starts looking for her to reverse his transformation. But he finds Momo first and tries to ask her for help. She sees the mouse so adorable that she wants to pet it, but her male fan club gets angry when they see that a dirty mouse is touching Momo's shoes, and they start chasing it to eliminate it. Then Rito Mouse hides in the girls' changing table and realizes his mistake when they start their clothes. But when the girls realize that there is a mouse, they start screaming in fear, and he is able to run away again. Fortunately, Rito Mouse sees Nana and wants to talk to her because she can talk with animals. The headmaster was passing by and kicks the mouse, and it flies out the window. Unfortunately for Rito Mouse, he falls into Yami's dress and has a hard time moving because she wears a very tight one, until he manages to get off her thanks to her and is finally able to escape. All this journey leaves him very tired, and Mii finds him, which she sees as a tired and agitated little mouse. So instead of following her master's advice to always eliminate the weak, Mii takes him to the shade so that the mouse can rest. But suddenly, Rito Mouse turns into a human and scares Mii. All this is seen by Yami, who realizes that the mouse was inside her dress was Rito and hits him hard. After that, Mie is still down and Nana tells her that maybe she should look for a hobby to cheer herself up. For example, she likes to draw, although she is terrible at it. After school, before Rito goes home, he sees Mia wearing her clothes on the roof. He runs up and asks her why she is dressed like that, and Mia reminds him that this is her real self, not the sweet student Mia. Then Rito prompts her to question Nemesis, but that angers Mia and she uses her braid to connect to Rito's neck. Now she can handle him and make him do embarrassing things with her body. And not only that, but she can also feel what he feels. He feels impatient, confused, and even a little... Rito can finally speak and tells her that he also feels what she feels. She feels alone and lost like a homeless girl. That shocks Mia, and she cuts the bond between the two of them, and he tells her that she is not alone, she has friends on Earth. But for me, that is not true. She only behaves like a human at the request of her master. Suddenly, 3 aliens appear and they want revenge against Mia, and according to them, Nemesis told them where to find her. Then Mia understands that her master sent those guys to remind her who she is, The battle between them is brutal, and Mia is gratified by her thirst for a fight until they reach a part of the city where Nana is buying a cake for Mia, and she is shocked when she sees her sweet friend like that. Mia is surprised to see her and tells her that this is her true form, and now it is time to stop pretending to be friends, and that breaks Nana's heart. The next day, Mia doesn't go to school, and Nana is sad and silent. At home, everyone is worried about Nana since she's been locked in her room since she came home from school, and Momo blames herself for not stopping that friendship sooner. Then Rito goes to talk to Nana but enters her room without knocking and runs into Lala without. She says that she just took a shower since she was with Nana. Rito asks Lala if she knows what happened, and she says that Nana hasn't spoken to her yet, but she knows something is wrong with her and Mia and recommends that he put on shoes if he wants to talk to her sister. Rito doesn't understand what she means but listens to her anyway and crosses a portal to where Nana is. But it's not just any place, it's a wild dimension full of alien animals. It turns out that Nana created this place so that many of her creatures can live in different ecological environments, and every time she summons one of hers with her dial, they come from this place. Then Rito sees that she is a little tearful and asks her if she still wants to be Mia's friend, and Nana answers crying that it is impossible now because Mia was pretending all this time she never wanted to be her friend. When she says it out loud, Nana's heart hurts again, and her crying is so heartbroken that Rito hugs her tightly to console her and tells her that she should talk to Mia because he is sure that their friendship was not fake. since when he and Mie were connected, he felt Mie's feelings of loneliness. And that only makes her cry more, so Rito continues hugging her for a long time. After that, Nana returns home and takes a bath with her twin and tells her that it's comforting to be hugged, which bothers Momo a little since Rito never hugged her. Later, Nana tracks down Mie with one of her space animals and tries to talk to her, but Mie starts attacking her. Nearby, Momo tries to save her sister, but Rito stops her and shows her that Mie is not harming Nana. No matter how hard she tries, Mie cannot harm her. Mie gets angry with herself because she thinks she is now defective, so she uses her braid to bonds Nana and show her true self, a woman that shows no mercy in a battle. Nana fights against Mie's dark feelings and tells her that she doesn't care about her past or who she really is. For her, Mie is Mia, her sweet friend from school, and begs her to be friends again, and this time without pretending. Seeing that Nana is not scared of her dark feelings, Mie cuts the bond and hugs Nana, because after all, for her friendship was real too. Suddenly, the three aliens who were chasing Mie appear, but Yami defeats them without breaking a sweat and tells Mie that she is glad that she has reconsidered and praises the peace of this planet that allows them to distance themselves from their dark past. Later, at her house, Mie receives a visit from Nemesis and tells her that from now on she can live as she pleases, since thanks to her and her feelings now she can understand golden darkness a little better. Meanwhile, Mekan invites Yami to see the fireworks festival on the weekend, telling her that Turju will be going too, since Rito told her about her, and that makes Yami a little worried. Days later, everyone goes separately to the festival. Rito and the twins go first. Mekan and Seline, Terju, Miss Mikado, Oshizu wait for Yami at the sanctuaries, since she has not arrived yet, while Lala and Haruna wait for Yua, who has not finished combing her hair yet. Rito says that the twins look good in their yukatas, but Nana thinks he sees her as a little girl, so she walks away from them. Suddenly, the president of Momo's fan club sees her and scolds her for being so close to Rito, since he has a bad reputation at school, and before he can do anything, Momo and Rito run away. After running for a while, he takes the opportunity to ask her about her mother. She tells him that the Queen of Deviluke is beautiful and helps her father maintain the peace in the universe because she is well versed in politics and diplomacy. The three of them adore their mom and they hold her in the highest esteem. Rito asks if she doesn't miss her, but it turns out that the Queen of Deviluke calls them constantly, and Momo says that she doesn't feel alone because she has her sisters in him. Then Rito surprises her by saying that he understands the theoretical part of that, since he loves Lala and has feelings for Haruna, but what he doesn't understand is why she is so obsessed with the subject. For a moment, Momo thinks about confessing her feelings for him, but prefers to remain silent and says that she only thinks about the happiness of all the girls who like him. Suddenly, Mekan runs up and tells them that something serious happened, and they run after her until Rito trips over Yami, and as always, she to eliminate him with her blades. Mekan laughs and says that the old golden darkness is still inside Yami, and she takes off her false facade and transforms into Nemesis. She tells Rito that it is a pleasure to finally meet him and warns him that she likes physical destruction but much more psychological destruction, and says that she would love to transform him into her servant, who will feel from her with just one punch from her. Momo doesn't like the interaction between Rito and Nemesis and also she separates them, but Nemesis starts messing with her, and Yami saves her from her by cutting off Nemesis' tirade. Then Nemesis says that she doesn't want to fight, she just came to say hello and try to be a friend. She has very few social skills, but thanks to me, she understands golden darkness a little more. But now that she can observe her in person, she says that golden darkness will soon return to being like it used to be. It's just a matter of time, and she doesn't even need to meddle since darkness is part of who she is, so from time to time she will visit them to play for a while, and when Yami is ready to be golden darkness again, she will be there for her. After that, Nemesis disappears and everyone gathers on a nearby roof to watch the fireworks, although Momo is worried about the situation and asks Terju if she knows what Nemesis meant when she said that Yami has darkness, which surprises her, but she evades the question. That night, while everyone is bathing, Seline grabs one of Lala's new inventions, a summon friends, and she shakes it hard, which activates it and summons Yu. Rito immediately takes the toy out of her hand, but it's too late. Yu appears out of nowhere and falls on Rito. The problem is that she was also bathing. The next day, Mie and Nemesis go out for a walk, and Mie asks her master about the darkness that is in Yami, and Nemesis tells her that golden darkness has a very great dark power inside her, and if she releases it, everyone can be swallowed by it. Meanwhile, Rito and Yui are on the train on the way home, and things are awkward between them because of what happened last night, and things get worse when the train starts to fill up with people, and they end up very close together in the corner. Rito is very nervous because his hand is squeezing Yu's leg, and she tells him blushing that she understands what happened last night, and today, she knows that he is a good boy. But even so, the two suffer on the train until they manage to get off at their station. On the other hand, Yami and Mekan go out for a walk, and Mekan tells her friend that no matter what Nemesis says, her heart only belongs to her. Although Yami admits that not even she understands her heart, but Mekan assures her that any problem that arises can be solved together. After that, Mekan goes to the grocery store and runs into Mi, who is just buying junk food, and Mekan invites her to dinner at her house. Mia is curious about how she cooks an earthly dinner, so she wants to watch Mekan up close, and she finds it fascinating how she cuts vegetables, so she tries to cut them too. Although after gaining confidence with a knife, she tells Mekan that she knows her true identity, so she decides to use her blades to cut the cabbage, although the joy of cutting something gives a boost of energy to Mi, who starts cutting the cabbage faster and faster, and then her power gets out of control, and she starts cutting other people's clothes. Fortunately, she manages to stop in time, but the cabbage is mashed. After that, Mekan and Momo finish preparing dinner, and Mekan concludes that she couldn't get along with Mie, but that doesn't last long because Mie says that eating with them warmed her heart, and Mekan remembers the old Yami, who also behaved like that. So she thinks that maybe she can get along with Mie, but it will take more time. On the weekend, Rito, Mekan, and Momo go to Seba's drawing studio since he is too busy to clean and has asked them for help. The three clean diligently, but Momo attends to him more eagerly since she wants Rito's father to see her as a daughter-in-law, and in the end she gets what she wants because Seba tells her that she would make a good wife. Before leaving, Seba begs her daughter to stay and cook lunch since he has only been eating junk food for weeks, and Mekan reluctantly stays because she's afraid of what might happen between Momo and Rito. On the way home, Momo fantasizes what could happen between her and Rito being alone, but suddenly, Nemesis appears in front of them and wants Rito to show her the city. Momo flatly refuses, but Rito accepts because they have to find out more about Nemesis. They first go to an arcade, and Momo won't stop grumbling because Nemesis acts clingy to Rito to make her jealous. After that, they go to eat Dango's, Nemesis' favorite earthly food, and Rito takes the opportunity to ask him about darkness. And Nemesis cryptically says that darkness is the dark power that lives inside Yami. If she one day unleashes it, it will be the end of the galaxy. Rito wants to know more, but she refuses to talk, until he agrees to sit her on his lap and feed her in the mouth. Momo is fuming, and Nemesis warns Rito that he should be careful with Momo. She seems like a dangerous girl, but Rito says that is not true. His response puts Nemesis in a bad mood, and she leaves. Hours later, Mekan runs back home because she fears the worst, having left Rito and Momo alone, but she finds a very domestic scene, Momo cooking and the others playing in the living room. Later, Momo is happy because Rito defended her against Nemesis and wants to play with him in the shower, so she takes off her clothes and enters the bathroom where Rito is, but she gets a big surprise when she sees Nemesis there. Rito is gagged, and Nemesis won't stop playing with his much to Momo's anger, and tells her that Rito has been the one who catalyzed Yami and Mi's humanity, so she wants to have him for herself and warns her that it is better for her to abandon the idea of the because she plans to keep Rito. Before leaving, Nemesis changes her voice and calls Mekan. She runs into the bathroom and sees the two without and scolds Momo, remembering that Rito is her sister's candidate. The next day, Momo and Rito go to help Seba again since he and Zastin are tired. At night, Rito wants to go take a bath, but he's afraid that Nemesis or Momo will get into his bathroom, but Mekan forces him to go. After a while, Mekan decides to protect his brother and goes in to bathe with him, reminding him that they used to bathe together, so it shouldn't be a problem to bathe now. While they are both bathing, Mekan asks him if he has spoken to Haruna, and he admits that he has only spoken to her a few times, and Mekan teases him by saying that it seems like he wants to form a That shocks Rito because he thinks that his sister knows something about it and denies such a thing, but she doesn't understand him. After bathing, Momo tells him that she went in to bathe to prevent Momo from coming in to bother him like always, but Rito says that maybe that's what Momo wanted and she fell into her trap, which bothers Mekan, making Momo laugh, confirming that it was all planned. Days later, teacher Terju is removed from Rito's class, and now she's the homeroom teacher of Yami, Mi, and the twins' class. But Yami rarely goes to class and doesn't seem interested in talking to Terju, and Rito sets out to talk to her. Later, Yami goes to Mekan's school and waits for her at the gates since she wants to spend time with her. The two friends go to the city library at Yami's request, since she likes to read a lot about math and science, and Mekan notices that Yami feels strange today, and she is right, since Yami feels out of place in the earth. Meanwhile, Rito continues looking for Yami in her favorite places, but he meets Mi instead. She wants to spend time with him since Nemesis told her about their meeting in the bathroom. Rito refuses to go with her, and she connects her braid to his neck to bond him and uses the memory of him and Nemesis to play with him in the bathroom. Mi tells him that she would like to stay with him, but Nemesis truly wants him for herself alone. After playing with Rito's body for a while, she comes across the reason for Rito's rejection. He is looking for Yami. and that puts Mie in a bad mood. Then she cuts the bond between them, and Rito asks her if she believes that Yami and Tirju can reconcile, but Mie is not interested in Tirju, and Rito surprises her by saying that Tirju considers her a little sister too. Meanwhile, Maiken invites Yami to go home, but Yami prefers to go back to the library. On the other hand, Rito continues his search for her, and he finally finds Yami in the library. He tries to convince her to go back to school and make up with Tirju. But Yami says that her past is too dark to forget. She doesn't deserve to be happy with Tirju after everything she has done. Suddenly, Mie appears and tells her sister that she deserves to give herself another chance at life and she should live however she wants from now on, since she is doing the same thing. Yami is moved to hear this, but the emotional moment is broken when a dog enters the library and attacks Oshizu and Momo, who were hiding listening to the conversation. Oshizu's telekinesis gets out of control and attacks everyone there, and Rito is left in a very compromising position between the female. This makes Yami angry, so she hits him. Later, Rito and the girls go to his house, and Maiken is surprised to see her brother bandaged like a mummy, but she is happy because he managed to bring Yami home. The next day, Yami goes to school, and Tirju gets tearful when she sees her entering her classroom wearing a school uniform, and Yami proposes to move forward since Mie is also doing it. That night, Zastan tells them an urban legend about a powerful sword that controls the one who possessed it, but he has been in many and has never seen it. Suddenly, Maiken receives a call from Rin. She needs her help for something, but she is busy, so the next day, she sends Rito and the others in her place. Rito arrives at Saki's house dressed as a butler, and Rin explains to him that last night, Saki made food for all the employees in gratitude for their good work, but everyone woke up with a stomachache and did not report to work. So Rin hires Rito and the girls to help them clean Saki's mansion. And of course, Momo gave everyone maid outfits. Nana, Mie, and Yami start by cleaning the first floor, although Nana complains because it is a lot of work, but Yami is happy with the tasks because she wants to earn some money and uses all her powers to clean the first floor. Mia is reluctant to use her powers since she wants to behave like an earthling and does not want to reveal her true identity. Yami understands her and decides to clean up human style. Meanwhile, Rito helps Rin clean the cutlery, but as always he falls on her, and since she is not used to Rito's slippery hands, she just scolds him and asks him to be more careful while opening a box with a mysterious sword. On the other hand, Momo and Saki are cleaning the drawing room, and Momo is surprised to see a huge painting of Zastan, and Saki proudly says that she painted it with love. That Momo thinks that Saki wouldn't be a good addition to the so she plans to focus on Rin, although she should get to know her a little more and see if she has feelings for Rito. Later, Nana and Mia go to the garden to mow the grass, and Mia sees Nemesis, who is planning something evil with the cursed sword. Meanwhile, Maiken cleans her father's drawing studio using the outfit that Momo gave her, and suddenly, Zistan's men warn their boss that there is a dangerous individual on Earth, and the three run away. Returning to Saki's mansion, Rito and Momo are cleaning the library when they are suddenly attacked by Ren using the demon sword. She does not look like herself and even breaks a wall with the powerful sword. Fortunately, Yami appears and starts fighting Rin, and Mie says that that sword was created in the Great War and feeds on, and who wields it cannot let go of it until all of their enemies are eliminated. The battle continues, and Rin attacks everyone equally, and Yami creates a fist of steel to destroy the sword, but Mie stops her. She thinks that the sword is connected to Rin's heart. If Yami destroys the sword, Rin is in a lot of risk too. Suddenly, Zastan arrives at Saki's mansion, and she's excited to see him even though he only came to watch the battle. Meanwhile, Rito makes a plan to save Rin, since Rin once saved Maiken and he owes that to her. Rito asks Mie to unite its consciousness with Rin's consciousness. He will help her wake up, although Momo is worried because it is very dangerous, but he owes it to Rin. When Rito enters Rin's conscience, he sees her trapped in the evil ropes of the sword. He tries to untie her, and that awakens the sword. It tries to expel him because Rin belongs to him. But Rito continues untying Rin, making her remember her friendship with Saki and Aya. Suddenly, Rin remembers the promise she made to Saki to always protect her, and that wakes her up. At that moment, the bond between the sword and Rin is broken, and Mie frees the two consciousnesses. Then the cursed sword tries to escape looking for another human to possess, but Yami destroys it before it can cause further damage. Meanwhile, Zastan observes the situation without interfering, and Mie draws his attention since she reminds him of golden darkness. The next day, Rin thanks Rito for saving her, and he downplays it by saying that it was all thanks to Yami, but she still thanks him blushingly. This is seen by Saki, and she says that she never saw that expression on her face, and Rin blushes more. Meanwhile, Lala contemplates Haruna and thinks about how to get her closer to Rito, and Peak reminds her that she should worry about her own progress with Rito. On the other hand, Nemesis goes to talk to Mia and asks her about Yami, But Mi has nothing to report, and Nemesis cryptically says that it is strange that Yami could have seen the cursed sword. Meanwhile, Yami walks through the school corridors and sees how Rito falls on Terju, and she decides that she has had enough. She says that it seems suspicious that he always falls on women, so with her hair, she makes a hand giant and wants to crush him. Fortunately for Rito, Lala sees the situation and asks Yami to forgive Rito once again, and Yami agrees. Then Lala wants to talk to him, but Rito runs to apologize to Terju for everything that happened. At that moment, Momo arrives and asks her what's wrong. Peak tells her that he thinks things are stagnant between Rito and Lala, and Momo agrees with Peak because if Lala doesn't marry Rito, the plan will go to waste. So Momo advises Lala to be more aggressive and show more love to Rito. Later, on the way home, Lala clings to Rito and doesn't let him breathe, and at home it's the same. She doesn't leave his side, and when Maiken sees them, she feels a little nostalgic for the old days since she hasn't seen them act like this in a long time, and unlike Momo, she doesn't suspect Lala's intentions. On the other hand, Momo observes her sister and Rito and realizes that Lala is very childish, and thus they will never advance in her relationship. So Momo takes Lala to the room and makes her play a PC game to teach her the adult way of expressing love, but Lala is so pure that Momo only taught her what a kiss between a man and a woman means when they are both in love. Later, while Rito is bathing, Lala appears and he is surprised because now she sees him differently. And he is right, now Lala knows about kissing and she wants to kiss him. This shocks Rito, and when he doesn't respond, she asks him if he still loves her, and he answers yes, which excites Lala, and when she's about to kiss him, Rito trips and Lala falls on top of him, and the kiss that Lala wanted so much ends up happening on her other lips. After that, Momo goes to the room to apologize to Rito, since she taught Lala about kissing, and now he understands Lala's strange attitude. That night, Rito dreams that he is kissing Haruna, but then the girl transforms into Lala, and then the other girls appear. The next day, Rito takes Lala to the roof and apologizes for not kissing her. He says that his feelings for her and Haruna have not changed, and he does not agree with the idea of marrying the two, so first he wants to clarify his feelings for both of them. Then Lala tells him that she understands because last night she talked to Nana and she explained to her that when you are not sure about your feelings, it is not okay to give a kiss. So Lala apologizes for wanting to impose a kiss, but she kisses him on the cheek and says that when he is ready, she will wait for the special kiss from him. Meanwhile, Nana feels a pain in her heart thinking about who loves Rito, and suddenly, Momo notices her and says that she wants to tell her about a plan she has. Nana doesn't like the thing because Rito is Lala's candidate, but Momo tells her about her feelings for Rito and says that a harem is the only way she can achieve happiness without causing problems. That leaves Nana thinking, and her heart doesn't stop hurting, and she tells me, but her friend already knew about Momo's plan and she thinks it's funny and shows her what kind of fun she can have with Rito, but Nana doesn't think that's right and thinks Rito is a... After that, Mia leaves because she feels that someone is following her, until she corners Oshizu and asks her why she is following her. Then Oshizu says that she doesn't trust her because Mia refuses to show her true identity to others, and that is suspicious, besides that she saw inside her heart once, and what she saw was not good. Mia says that she started pretending that she was an Earthling at Nemesis' request, but now she feels that she can't let go of this new identity, because otherwise everything she built will crumble. Suddenly, they hear an explosion, and it's because of Seline. It turns out that Seline knocked over a trash can and Nana built her an instant trash vacuum, but now the vacuum cleaner sucks up all the students' and then throws trash as an attack. Oshizu asks Mi to help her stop the robot, but Mi mockingly says that she doesn't want others to discover her identity. Meanwhile, Rito and Nana try to stop the vacuum cleaner, but they only end up leaving more students without. Then Noma destroys the device, but it gets more out of control, and Lala says that all the garbage is going into a black hole, and luckily it is small, but has the capacity to absorb the entire school. Suddenly, Oshizu tries to destroy the robot with her telekinesis, even though Miss Mikado warned her not to overuse her powers or she will cease to exist forever. She almost succeeds, but her powers are not enough and Mi intervenes. She creates a laser gun with her hand and manages to destroy the vacuum cleaner. Mia feels that now she will be rejected, but Yami appreciates it and introduces her to all the students as her little sister, and everyone applauds since Mi and Oshizu saved the school. Then Oshizu thanks Mia and Mi says that they can be friends now, but she transforms her hand into a little dog and Oshizu runs away scared. The next day, Rito wakes up with Momo on top of him and he asks her to stop sneaking into his bed at night, but Momo says that he likes to play with when he sleeps, which means he's ready to be a king, but Rito refuses that this is true. At school, Mia is happy because she doesn't feel rejected and shows the girls the benefits of being able to change her body parts. Meanwhile, Rito talks to Miss Mikado and he asks her if she's ever cured Yami, and she tells them that once Yami arrived very hurt at her clinic, but she did not remember how she got to that state. To this day, that memory is still blocked. Later, Rito meets Yami and asks her if she's going to make up with Tirju, but she reminds him that he is her target and she doesn't like him getting involved in her affairs. Rito then confesses that he wants her to be happy, but the heartfelt moment is cut short when he falls down the stairs on top of her, and Yami says that he doesn't follow the laws of gravity because he's always falling, so it's time to eliminate him. Yami begins to chase him with her blades, but Haruna appears and asks her to forgive him once again. After that, Yami goes to her classroom and meets Tirju on the way, and instead of ignoring her, Yami walks with her. Later, all the students go to the pool and Nana feels a little self-conscious about her flat and fights with Momo. This is seen by me, and she tells Yami that they should fight a little like the twins, thus showing that they are real sisters. But Yami says that her sister relationship is too recent to do that. Additionally, she tells her about the concerns she had when arriving on this planet, but what she did not know is that the people of this planet were going to welcome her, just as they did, and that gives her peace of mind. Suddenly, Yami begins to glow gold and her power goes out of control. Then Mi sees that Nemesis is on the roof watching everything, and she says that the only way to unleash Yami's darkest power is for her heart to feel at peace. Then Nemesis takes control of Mi's body, and she begins to glow darkly and locks her in her consciousness, and Nemesis appears before everyone saying that Mi never existed. Nana doesn't believe her, but Nemesis says that Yami was talking to her all this time, and that breaks Yami's heart. Her body starts to glow brighter and brighter, and Nemesis says that when Tirju tried to raise Yami as a human, a scientist exiled her to implant a new program in Yami, one that would unleash a capable of destroying planets if Yami felt that she was at peace. Suddenly, Yami turns into a golden ball, and then a new golden darkness appears, one more cheerful and different from the Yami everyone knows. Yami is no longer Yami, now she is darkness. She says that she wants to meet the most shameless boy of all, Rito, so with her power she opens a black hole and puts her arm in to bring Rito, who is in his classroom. She tells him that before she didn't like him falling on her all the time, but now he can touch her as much as he wants, since it is no coincidence that he is always with his face between a girl's. But she warns him that after playing with her, she will eliminate him because after all, he is her target. Momo and Nana try to defend Rito from Darkness's caresses, but she transforms her hair into many Ritos and orders them to play with the girls like Rito always does. But the twins are not fooled by the false Ritos and defeat them without breaking a sweat. They free the other girls from the pool, and Nana calls a bunch of kittens to take Rito away. Then, Darkness tells them that she was once able to leave Yami. She was on a peaceful planet, and her power was so great that she split the planet in two, destroying it forever. But now she feels different from that time. All the times that Rito touched her awaken a new feeling in her. She wants to be one with him, and she will not rest until she achieves it. Meanwhile, Rito is taken by kittens somewhere else, but they run into Haruna and Yui, and Yu scolds him because she thinks he is kittens. Suddenly, Darkness appears in front of them while she teleports the twins to Mi's house, so that they do not interfere with her union with Rito. On the other hand, Mi asks Nemesis to leave her body, but she says that the fusion will not last forever, only until Darkness commits her mission with Rito, and then she will let her go, or maybe not. Then Darkness shows them the power of creating wormholes. She can make Rito's face hit Yu without even moving him, so Rito can barely breathe, and Darkness says that his time has come. Suddenly a blade falls from the sky, and Darkness lets go of Rito. Lala has come to the rescue. At first she does not recognize Yami, since that girl wears more clothes, but Rito assures her that Yami is Darkness. Darkness doesn't like the interruption, so she starts attacking Lala and recaptures Rito, and she creates a sand golem in the shape of Rito. Meanwhile, Mi talks to Nemesis and tells her that she always felt a weird presence in her heart. She sometimes did things she didn't want to, and now she knows that it was her. She asks him once again to free her body, but Nemesis says that she will do it whenever she wants, but Mi cryptically says that bodies can be separated in another way, and as long as her consciousness is still alive, she still exists. Suddenly, Oshizu reaches the roof and tries to remove Mi from Nemesis' body using her telekinesis, and Mi tries to release her powers once again, and finally, with the power of both, Mi's body is released and the bond with Nemesis has come to an end. Mia thanks Nemesis for everything and tells her that from now on, she will follow her own path. At that moment, the twins arrive and Nana hugs her friend tightly, saying that she worried a lot this time. Mia apologizes and tells Nemesis that she's going to help turn Yami back to normal. Meanwhile, Darkness and Lala's fight is brutal. The blonde does not stop using her powers in a perverse way on the pure Lala, but she uses all of her inventions to escape Darkness's clutches. Lala's clothes are destroyed, but she doesn't care. She keeps fighting and defends Rito because she loves him. Darkness loses her patience and says that her way of loving is by eliminating things, so she forms a huge golden blade and is ready to eliminate them both. Then Lala hugs Rito and tells him that they have to endure this attack as best they can, because when Darkness runs out of energy, maybe Darkness will become Yami again. Darkness launches her attack and Lala uses her pink shield from her tail to defend them, but Darkness' power is too much, and it all ends in an explosion that sends them flying away. They fall into the forest and Lala's body is now smaller, and Peak scolds her because she used a lot of power in that shield, and he tells Rito that those of the Deviluke race become smaller when they use a lot of power in a battle. That is why the king of Deviluke is a short man. He has fought in many ways. Suddenly, Darkness appears and she has run out of energy, and unfortunately, she is still Darkness. Then Lala tries to stand up to fight again, but her legs shake from exhaustion and Rito prepares to defend her from Darkness since she can still use her blades. Fortunately, Zaston and his men appear and start fighting Darkness, but suddenly plants and animals stop them. Momo, Nana, and Mie have arrived. They ask them not to hurt Darkness because she is still Yami. They just have to turn her back to normal. Darkness is surprised to see Mie and she tries to distract her by fighting her. Then the twins tell Rito that they have a plan. Since Mie finds the fixation that Darkness has on him strange, they think that there is a bug in Darkness's transformation and they must attack that bug. Rito is surprised to hear that plan and at first doesn't want to do it, but Nana says that it may be the only way to bring Yami back. They must gamble with Yami's heart. Little Lala overhears the whole plan and gives them new dials that transform her clothes into battle clothes, and she regrets not being able to go since she is not fit for battle. The first to act is Momo. She grows a giant root that separates Mie from Darkness, and then it is Rito's turn. He turns red with embarrassment, but he says what he has to say. He yells at Darkness that he's going to play with her as much as he wants right now. Meanwhile, at school, Oshizu tells Teruju and Miss Mikado what is happening, and Teruju fears that something bad will happen to Yami, but Yu and Haruna assure her that the girls will manage to save her. On the other hand, Rito is still red after what he said, and Momo feels sorry for him. Since for someone as respectful of women as Rito is, it must be horrible to do this against his will. Before Rito acts, Nana tells him that he should not be afraid. If Darkness attacks him, Momo will save him. Darkness laughs at Rito because she knows that he is just lying and invites him to come closer to her. But as soon as Rito takes a step, she begins to attack him. But the twins do not wait for a second, as they also launch their attacks. When the smoke clears, Rito approaches Darkness, but he trips and almost falls on top of her. But he manages to stop himself from falling and immediately his clothes and begins to caress Darkness's entire body. The twins are shocked by his good performance until they realize that he is imitating the biggest in the city, the school principal. Darkness can't believe that Rito behaves shamelessly with her and tries to fly away, but Rito sticks to her body. As they fly, Rito urges Yami to wake up. He reminds her that she hates, and her head starts to hurt, and suddenly, Darkness's wings start to change color from black to white. The twins and Mia fly following them, and Mia realizes that for Yami's heart, this must be a big shock, since she knows that Rito would never do these things, and even though she always him, she holds him in high regard. Darkness can't take it anymore and falls in the courtyard of Rito's house. He continues caressing, and Yami wakes up slapping him. Finally, Yami is back to normal. Unfortunately, Maiken arrives at that moment and sees them almost without and thinks the worst of them, and this time even Yami has to explain herself. The next day, everything returns to normal, even Rito and Lala having their meetings without on the stairs. They go to school and find Yami apologizing to all the students and gives Lala a box with many bottles of milk, since because of her, Lala is now a little girl. But Lala says that she just needs to sleep and rest properly and she will return to her normal state, unlike her dad who exhausted all his powers and he became a baby after the last intergalactic, and now he grows slowly. Even so, Lala begins to drink as much milk as possible to grow faster. That makes Yami happy, but when she sees Rito, she blushes and ignores him. In the afternoon, Yami goes to spend time with Maiken, and she feels a little bad for not being there when Yami needed her, but Yami disagrees. She is grateful that Maiken was not hurt. And after much reflection, Yami goes to thank Rito, since without his help, the planet Earth could have disappeared. But when she tries to say the word thanks, Rito tries to apologize for all the things he did to her yesterday. This is heard by some ladies who are passing by, and Yami tries to silence him. But they both fall into a compromising position, and Yami gets angry, saying that it is always the same with him and makes it clear that unlike Darkness, she doesn't want anything with him. Meanwhile, Mia watches them laughing, and Nemesis tells her that if Darkness's transformation had gone well, a new galactic would have broken out and they would have a new place to belong. But Mia assures her that they can belong on Earth without and Nemesis agrees with her, but finds that boring. Before leaving, Nemesis says that she will watch them both from the shadows, since that is her hobby, and for the first time, Nemesis calls Golden Darkness by her new name, Yami. One night, Nemesis goes to visit Rito in his room and tells him that she has been reading horror stories and wants him to tell her one or she will play with his. This is heard by Momo, who was hiding in Rito's closet to later play with him like every night. She says that she will tell her a story, and if she trembles with fear, Nemesis has to go. Then Nana begins the story that Zastin once told her. A long time ago, a soldier's spaceship broke down on an abandoned planet, and he went to rest in an old inn. And the owner was an old woman. In the night, that soldier woke up with the old woman on top of him. Then Nemesis complains about the story, saying that it is boring since she should be a young woman who gets on the soldier and shows them how she should follow the story. She uses candle wax to burn Rito's skin and starts him, but Momo doesn't like that, and she shows them how the story would look better. Momo summons dairy plants and uses them as cream to massage Rito's, and Nemesis likes how the story is going, so she joins Momo in massaging Rito's using the nectar from the flowers. Suddenly, Mekan hears Rito's complaints and abruptly enters the room and sees Momo with almost no in a mess, and thinks the worst, so they get the scolding of their lives. The next day, Yami goes to Rito's house because she wants to try to thank him again, but a call from Miss Mikado interrupts them. It turns out that she needs help at the clinic. Today, she has a long list of patients and is short on staff. The twins, Yami and Rito, who has become a girl, go to the clinic dressed as nurses and begin to care for the other patients. All the patients are aliens and some have slippery hands, so Rito has a bit of a hard time, although Yami keeps them in line by them to make them behave. After hours of work, Miss Mikado realizes that Tirju has not returned from the basement, and Yami goes down with Rito to look for her. And they are shocked to see her trapped with bandages by a robot. It turns out that this robot is a space nurse, but Miss Mikado bought a second-hand one, and that's why it works poorly, so they threw it in the basement. When they want to free Tirju, the robot goes crazy and starts attacking them with medical supplies. Tirju asks them to leave so as not to be hurt, which moves Yami, so she uses her blades and defeats the robot. Unfortunately, Rito transforms back into a boy and is completely, which makes Yami angry. She leaves the clinic, leaving Tirju and Rito there. Days later, Mekan and Rito are shopping when they see a street and try to divert them, but suddenly, something incredible happens. The beautiful woman with pink hair appears and stops the fight with her voice, and as always, the school principal rushes towards her delighted, but the woman advises him to be a better man, and he decides to follow her advice. Rito and Mekan can't believe what they see, especially when the beautiful woman approaches them and greets them. Suddenly, Lala and the twins come running and tell them that she is their mother. Everyone goes to Rito's house, and Zastin and his men in black deploy a security wall to protect the Queen of the Universe. She is Sifi Michaela Deviluke. She thanks Rito and Mekan for giving her daughters a home, but the first thing Nana does is warn her not to get too close to Rito, because he has a habit of falling on women, which makes Sefi smile, although they can't see her face. She wears a veil because her beauty is so impressive that the men who see her fall in love with her and turn into feral beasts. Sefi is the last of her kind, and she was saved by her now husband, Gid Lucian Deviluke. The girls are happy to have their mother visiting them, and Lala tells her that little by little she is growing and will soon return to normal, while Nana does not stop hugging her, and Momo worries about her presence because Sefi is totally against her, and she is so powerful that even the King of the Universe does not dare challenge her on that rule. After that, all the girls go to bathe in the springs of the galactic Sephira that Nana created, and Sefi leaves her veil on until they reach the springs. Unfortunately, Seline also crosses the galactic portal, and Rito goes in to chase her, but instead of finding the baby girl, he runs into Sifi and trips on her, and her veil falls off. Rito blushes when he sees the beautiful woman, and Peak covers his eyes so that Sefi can flee, but Rito assures him that he is fine. He did not become the feral beast that everyone feared. But those who are affected by Sefi's beauty are Nana's space animals. The herd chases Sifi, and Rito helps her escape from them, but an octopus catches them. Rito does everything he can to free Sefi and takes her away to a very steamy place. Then she says that his eyes remind her of her husband. It turns out that Gid Deviluke was also immune to Sefi's beauty, since his convictions were very strong, and that's why she fell in love with him. And like Rito, he did not let himself be blinded by beauty, because he knows that it is wrong to touch someone without their consent. And finally, she says that she now understands why her 3 daughters are attracted to him, and she gives her permission for them to be with him. After that, Sefi must return to the planet Deviluke, and before saying goodbye to Momo, she tells her that she is proud that she seeks her happiness no matter what and approves her plan. As the spaceship ascends, Sefi remembers how she met her beloved husband. They were just teenagers, and he saved her from an hour of barbarians, and when they locked eyes, She was surprised that he didn't fall in love with her, and that made her fall in love with him. Days later, Lala goes to visit Haruna, and she tells her a little about her parents since they will soon come to visit them, and warns her that they are very affectionate with each other. Then Lala tells her that it's time for her and Rito to advance in their relationship, and she decides to invite Rito to her house. Rito says that he will go, but it seems strange that Haruna invited him out of the blue, and Momo thinks that it was her sister's idea and tells Rito to bring her flowers. Meanwhile, Lala shows Haruna her new invention. It is an artifact that will make her grow for an hour to her normal height, but suddenly, Rito arrives and steps on the artifact and he falls on Haruna. Now they both are tiny, and Lala calms them down by saying that the effect lasts only an hour. But the worst happened. Haruna's parents arrive, and Peak comes up with the idea of transforming Lala into Haruna so that they don't find out what happened. Meanwhile, Rito and Haruna use paper to cover themselves since they have no and hide on the couch. The conversation between Lala and Haruna's parents goes well, but she sees them so affectionate that she decides to ask them about their first kiss. The question embarrasses the real Haruna, and she and Rito fall from the couch to the floor next to Maroon. The dog can detect Haruna's essence but does not find her since Rito and Haruna hide under their giant clothes. Maroon continues sniffing and looking for Haruna, so Rito decides to sacrifice himself and distract Maroon, but Haruna doesn't let him go, and they both trip over a fold of clothing, and without realizing it, their lips collide in an accidental kiss. At night, Momo suspects that something happened between Rito and Haruna because he is very nervous, so she takes advantage of the fact that Maiken is bathing and goes to question Rio. In his room, he can't stop thinking about the accidental kiss, but every time he remembers it, an image of Lala appears in his mind. Then, Momo enters for clothes and hugs his head to suffocate him with her, and he decides to tell her what happened. Meanwhile, Haruna is very happy about the kiss, but her excitement fades when she thinks about Lala. The next day, Haruna and Rito try to avoid each other, while Momo can't stop thinking that she has lost her Haruna, but even so, it is a step towards the... So she tries to cheer herself up and decides to convince Rito that he must confess his feelings once and for all to Haruna. On the other hand, Haruna talks to Oshizu and tells her about her kiss, and the girl says that Haruna must confess her feelings to Rito today. After that, the two meet in a lonely place and both are ready to confess their feelings, but Haruna regrets it at the last second and only apologizes for the accidental kiss, and Rito can't even answer her because a horde of baby octopuses appear since Nana wanted to show them to me, but they got out of control. All this is seen by Momo, who is relieved that they did not confess their feelings to each other. Sometime later, Lala has returned to her normal height and Nemesis is now attending school. All is peace and tranquility. But that doesn't last long because Lala created a multiplier cat for Miss Mikado since she wants to clone medicinal plants to save costs, and as always, Rito slips and falls on the cat and it runs away. Then Rito starts sneezing and he starts multiplying, and the multiplication will end if they catch the cat. Unfortunately, Rito continues to multiply and cause chaos at school. Wherever Rito's clones go, immoral accidents happen. The girls try to find the cat, but it is impossible because Rito's clones flood the school. Then Yami and Mia decide to knock out all the Rito, but they still do not stop multiplying. After a while, Haruna and Seline find the cat sleeping in the middle of some bushes and manage to deactivate Rito's multiplication, and now they only have to wait for the clones to disappear, but not even Lala knows when that will happen.